What's going on, everyone? This is Steven from After Hours Video, and tonight on After Dark, we're diving deep into the full Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, from the terrifying original 1984 classic to the mind-bending meta horror of New Nightmare. We'll explore Freddy Krueger's evolution, the inventive dream kills, and the surreal nightmare logic that has influenced decades of horror cinema. Joining me tonight is my friend Christian from PlanetCHH. What's going on, man?
What's going on, my dude? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Hope your week's been good. Mine's been pretty good.
Good. Listen, we came out on the other side of the 4K Steelbook set. So how are you feeling, man?
I feel kind of bad to feel good, to be honest with you, because so many people still haven't gotten theirs, haven't gotten a shipping notification.
Yeah.
Some people have gotten refunded. And honestly, it shouldn't be like this. So it's kind of bittersweet. I like to enjoy things with everybody. I don't like being the nah kind of guy, you know.
No.
So my plea to people is don't worry if you can't. I think this is a good set. Like I've been using this to like watch the movies.
Yeah.
So I like this set. So I mean, I think people don't need to worry about like feeling bad about getting that, because it's not bad. I like that set a lot.
I was pleasantly surprised by that set because I didn't realize that it was going to be like one of like the thicker box sets. I thought it would be kind of like, did you see that Final Destination collection where it's like just all the discs on like one smaller Blu-ray case?
Yeah.
But that is actually pretty sharp. I really like that edition a lot. So obviously tonight together, we're going to be breaking down the film's most iconic moments, discussing their lasting impact on the slasher genre, and examine why Freddy remains one of the horror's most enduring villains. Before we get started, grab a slice of pizza, pour yourself something to drink, dim the lights, and make sure you hit that like button. Tonight, the dream world stirs and every shadow could be Freddy waiting. So the nightmare begins now. So obviously, we have to kick it off first and foremost with the iconic classic Nightmare on Elm Street.
Covered in autographs.
So I know when you and I had a chance to hang out, you told me that the second one was really where it all began for you. But I wanted to kind of crack into this and see, what are your memories really with this one? What was that experience like diving into the first one, and what type of impact did it have for you?
Yeah, I absolutely went to this one right after two, because I was actually able to rent it this time. I mean, just to recollect, you know, the goal was to start with the first one, and I was still in high school at the time, so I didn't really have a job yet. I was on and off of jobs, usually summer jobs, but you know, so I couldn't just go out and buy it or anything. So my mom used to work right next to a Blockbuster, and she went to go get the first one. Sure enough, it was rented out, so she got me the second one. And before too long, like after I watched the second one, I fell in love with it. And thank God, because you know, when I went to go watch the first one, I can't say I didn't like it at all, because I agree with the world that it is an absolute bona fide classic. But I'll be honest with you, like if I'm just going to shoot from the hip, part of me does wonder, would I had fallen in love with the series and horror in general had I started with the first one, because I genuinely like two that much more than one. And the first one, I just saw it as one of those classic horror films that like, oh, this is fun to watch.
Yeah.
But I wasn't affected in a way that I was with two. So I don't really have that great of a relationship with the first movie, is kind of crazy as that is to sound. Like, I don't want to sound pessimistic about it.
No.
You know, I think it is a classic. I think it's one of the greatest horror films that ever made. I think there's no denying it, the impact, of course. But I didn't have that connection with that one the way I did with two. So I wonder what would have happened had I just saw the first one first, you know?
Yeah, it might have had a different impact on you in the long run, or maybe like your appreciation for the franchise. We got Pink Palace in the chat. What's up, man? And we've got Alexander asking, So he said in an Instagram post, said Freddy is the #1 scariest horror villain today. Do you guys agree? Is there someone scarier that tops that list? I think we got into the debate over Pennywise last time.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's no brainer. That's Tim Curry. Do I think Freddy is the scariest? I don't know. He's the funniest.
Yeah. I don't
But
I don't know. That's
I,
that's a
I
hard one.
I think you could say yeah because of two again.
Mhm.
You know, I
Oh,
mean, two, he's so freaking scary.
it's
You
so
know.
mean-spirited. I definitely a lot more sinister, I think, than any of the other sequels that we ever got past that point. Um, and we also got Joel in the chat. What's up, Joel? Thanks for hanging out with us. All right. So just to kick it off, so for A Nightmare on Elm Street, in the quiet suburb town of Springwood, a group of teenagers is tormented by a burn-clawed killer who stalks them in their dreams and murders them in reality. Nancy Thompson discovers that man haunting their dreams is Freddy Krueger, a child killer burned alive by their parents years earlier. As her friends are slaughtered one by one, Nancy realizes the only way to survive is to confront Freddy directly in the dream world. Blurring the line between nightmare and wake in life, Wes Craven's film reshaped the slasher genre into something surreal, psychological, and unforgettably terrifying. So, when you went to the video store way back when, I know you said your mom picked up the second one for you, but just in general, going back to that horror section back then, was Nightmare on Elm Street a franchise that you would go back to time and time again? Or were there certain movies that really stood out to you at the video store around then?
Um, it's kind of weird. Like, obviously, I grew up with the video store, and I remember renting. Before that, it was funny. Me and my buddy Brady, we used to do this thing where we would just try to find the most ridiculous horror film on the shelf and rent it and watch it. And it's funny because there was a movie called Knock Knock, not the Eli Roth
Oh, I
movie.
was gonna
It was
say.
no, there was this one before that came out in like 2008. It's ridiculous. I remember we watched that and it made no sense. It was so horribly acted. It looked like it was shot with an Atari.
Oh God.
And we used to rent the craziest stuff like that. I remember we rented Otis. Everybody remembers that DVD artwork on the video shelf of like this kind of big fat guy in a suit holding this girl with
Oh,
like everybody. If you see
she's
it, you
leaned
know
up
it.
on him.
Yeah, you know it because
Yep,
for some
yep.
reason everybody it's like ingrained in people's brain. We rent stuff like that. So that was like my horror stuff. We would I don't know why we would do that, but we would do that. And then we eventually you know we just stopped doing that. And then that's when I got into my senior year of high school, and then I just kind of was like, man, I don't know that I've ever really watched these movies. So what really ended up happening around that time was, I rented Elm Street 2, then 1, then I got
Mhm.
3, and I went up, I rented up to Freddy's Dead. I didn't see New Nightmare at that point because what happened was I had gotten a job at that point, and what I
Okay.
started doing was I was like, okay, I'm going to start buying these movies on DVD. And what
Mhm.
I did was I would go to FYA and I started with Friday the 13th. So I bought all those movies like once a week. I would take my paycheck and I would get one deluxe edition DVD. So I would get
Oh, the
part one
best.
because they always had those. They
Yep.
always stock part one. And then I'd go back and there would be like 3, 5, and 6. And I'd have to pick. And so I'd just grab one with the coolest cover art. Because I was like, well, I'm gonna get them. So I'd grab 5, and then I would grab 2, then I would grab 4. Then I'd have to wait for part 8 to show up because for some reason it just barely would ever be in stock. So then
Yeah.
I did all that, and then I went back and I bought all the Elm Streets again. And the reason, I mean, it makes sense if you think about it. The reason I bought all the Fridays first was because, I had just watched most of the Elm Streets. So I
Mhm.
wanted to buy new movies that I would be able to, watch. So that's kind of the way that all started. And by the time I got done through the process of buying all those movies for the next year or so, I wasn't renting them. I knew I loved this stuff so much I wanted to buy them. So then at that point, by 2012, my Blockbuster was shutting down, and then I
Feels
rated it.
bad.
I rated it and bought a
Smart man.
in my collection. I have a ton of DVDs that if I open up
Oh,
the cases, they'll be Blockbuster
yep.
discs.
Oh, man.
So
Yeah, it's It's kind of bittersweet though, because the video store days. There's just something that's just so memorable about them, and that's where you would go. You'd be able to browse the different aisles and be able to pick something up just based alone on the cover art.
Right.
You weren't like going online and having to like really determine is this a movie I'm going to like or not. You find it out firsthand, and that's it. Now, do you think that the video store era was crucial for Nightmare on Elm Street becoming a franchise?
No,
No?
I
Okay.
really I think it was the word of mouth and the theaters. Um, it's so much so because I mean my dad, who was just like an NPC.
Yeah.
Like, I talked to my dad about the '80s all the time, and I was like, "Dad, did you do this? Did you see this?" Blah, blah, blah. The only things he saw in the '80s was, like, a few things that he loved them so much he would actually do. He saw Twisted Sister whenever they would come into town, Billy
Oh,
Idol and
sick.
Billy Idol. But when it comes to movies, I'd be like, "Dad, did you see Ghostbusters in the theater?" Because my dad graduated high school, I think, in, like, 80, I guess it was 80 or 81.
Okay.
And I'd be like, "Dad, did you go see this? Did you go see this?" The answer was 9 times out of 10, no. He'd see him on TV,
Yeah.
but this is why I say no, because my dad, who was such an NPC, said, I remember when I was watching Elm Street, he was like, "Christian, I remember my whole my job, everybody, like, everybody was talking the world was talking about that movie when it was coming out. It was like the scariest movie ever made."
Yeah.
He's like, "You don't get it. Like, people were talking about that movie as it was coming out like it was the biggest thing of all time." And I was like, "So you actually saw Elm Street?" And he goes, "Oh, the world did. We all did."
Mhm.
So that's why I look at my situation with my dad, and that's why I say, no, it was the theaters. It was the word of mouth.
And it's interesting that you say that though, because it's almost like the word of mouth, the buzz was and the lasting legacy that this character had time and time again with the sequels was larger than life. I mean, I know we were talking about it for the deep dive we did on the first one, and it's like he is just this cultural icon, and really, like, I mean, if you break it down, I mean, he's a child killer. that. So it's pretty wild to see just how big of a like just a movie icon he eventually ended up becoming. Now, how do you think that Wes Craven reinvented the slasher formula with the dream, I guess, nightmare concept?
Well, I don't know if it had really even been done like that before or even remotely, to be honest with
Hmm.
you. I'm trying to think of it. The only thing that's, like, weird enough, I don't know, would be like a phantasm, but, like, I think that's what's so great about Elm Street is, like, literally everything about it is original.
Yeah.
Everything. The entire concept is so innately original, it you can't mistake it for literally anything else. I mean, it takes an element that every person has to do, which is sleep, and like, everybody has to sleep. So
Yeah.
therefore, when people are going to bed, they're gonna think about Freddy. I mean, it's literally an ingenious idea. So, I mean, there are certain movies where I think there is life before them, and then
Hmm.
once they exist, there's life after them in the sense that it changes everything. And
For sure.
I think that's Elm Street. Literally, one after that movie, nobody could go to sleep and not think of Freddy ever. I mean, it literally was just like Jaws for the water, Psycho for showers,
I
and
was just about to say
Freddy's for the
that.
sleep. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's how do you get more original? You can't get any more original than that. To associate an activity that literally every single human being on planet Earth has to do. It's brilliant.
And terrifying. I mean, I can only imagine if you're seeing it back at that time, like just how scary it would be, just I don't know. It's just such an original concept. And obviously the movie plays heavily on the idea of dreams versus reality. Do you think that this says anything about like teenage fears or anxieties that were going on during the 80s?
Oh, I mean, it's hard for me to say considering I wasn't there. I mean, I don't know. That's a good question. I'd have to. I don't know. I don't recall Wes really talking about it in that sense. The only thing I
Yeah.
remember that they had occurred only thing I remember of real importance in terms of while they were making it, besides him reading about it in some newspaper, like
Mhm.
some kid, I think it wasn't even in America, it was like an Asian country. But the only thing I remember that was going on, and they actually had to change it, was I think he was supposed to be a PDF file
Yeah.
instead of, but it's somehow like I get it, but it's also like somehow murdering is
Like it's
less bad.
like it
Murdering,
like it's supposed to be any better.
you know. But that's the only thing I remember, because something happened like in the paper, like there was this huge fiasco at some school. It became national news where
Scary.
some teacher, somebody got it was huge, where there was teachers taking advantage of kids or something that happened, and then that's where, like, well, let's make him a killer, because that's
W
dying is less. It's somehow
Right.
less. It's
Yeah.
like, what are you talking about?
Well, even the idea of just dying in your sleep. I mean, it's, obviously there's one-off occurrences that can happen, but let alone, in this horrific manner, the way that it takes place in all these, this movie and all the sequels. I mean, I don't know. It's definitely turns that concept upside down. Even GC mentioned, he pointed out that some similar true stories had happened, and I don't know. I just think that that's so fascinating. But now, do you think that Freddy is scarier as a literal burned child killer, or maybe like a metaphor for, I feel like they allude to generational sins coming back to haunt the kids.
Do I think he's scarier as what he is?
Hmm.
Um,
Or like maybe the lasting impact that he has.
I think it changes as you get older. I think as a kid, you just look at it for what it is.
For sure.
He's a boogeyman that, he's a boogeyman that whenever you go to sleep, he's going to show up. Um, but as uh-oh, did he leave me? I guess I'm taking over the show. Maybe he'll come back. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen,
Oh, that was weird. I don't know what happened.
I was gonna say, I guess I'm
Oh my
taking.
god. At first I thought you were pausing for a sec, like the that inside joke that we had, but that was me this time. So we know that Nancy is often praised as one of the best final girls. So what sets her apart from other like final girls that we see?
You don't want to ask me that. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
Like I'm just gonna be
No, it's
absolutely.
okay.
I It's funny. I like her better. I like her better in New Nightmare.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
I think she's good in that, like legitimately good in that movie. I think I'm not saying at all that I think she's bad in the first one, but I think the character in and of itself is good. I just don't think the acting is like incredible or anything. I just think it's a tough badass character, but I don't think the acting's all that. So I guess that's where I feel a bit of a disconnect. Like I think I don't know. I don't like jumping ahead, but like people ask me,
No.
what do I think the best final girl is? My answer is Mark Patton.
Oh yeah.
I always, and I'm not kidding. I think he's the only one that I genuinely can tell that he's fucking terrified of what's going on. I mean, like you
Yeah.
can tell he is terrified. You can feel it in him. Um, but like I said, I think Heather is phenomenal in New Nightmare, like legitimately phenomenal. It's the best performance out of any of the Elm Streets to me by a country mile. She's so good in New Nightmare that I'm when people do ask me about her, I instantly always go to that movie, because when I watch it, I'm like, oh, this is great. I mean, she is so good because she's playing like a human, like a real human,
Hmm.
like her actual self, and it's money to me. So yeah, I like her a lot, just not because of the first movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think that as we
And
obviously
I'm in the
get.
minority, by the way. Most people
Yeah.
do not agree with me about that. Most people, they love Nancy in the first movie, and I get it. I get it.
I can understand that because I think she has more to work with in the sequels, for Dream Warriors and then eventually New Nightmare. And I like that her character or just her performance in general. I mean, it's something different for each one. We're revisiting her at a different point, obviously in Dream Warriors, and then she's essentially playing her real life counterpart for New Nightmare. So now I got to ask you, how effective is Robert Englund's performance in making Freddy terrifying? Like, did it leave kind of like it scare you when you initially saw him?
In 2, absolutely.
Yeah,
In 1, I was so entertained by him. There's iconics. I mean, 1 has incredibly iconic scenes. Um, but it was more, I was just like in love with the look of the movie and the sound of it.
for sure.
Not so much frightened by 1. Though there is a few things in 1 that are just nasty, like the body bag getting dragged in the
Oh, it's gnarly.
school, because it's a body bag. You
Yeah.
can't. There's nothing funny about that, because it's just clear body bag that was gross. But um, it's funny. I actually see Freddy as kind of funny in the first one. And people say he started out serious. I guess it's true. He got damn serious in 2, but
Yeah.
in the first one, I actually think like the skeleton face is kind of I laugh when I see that, because I
Cutting his
like it
fingers off.
because his fit like the
Yeah.
skeleton face looks funny. When he's cutting his fingers off, he's laughing. It's like, um,
Or the alleyway chase.
yeah, I think it was dark humor in the first one, to a certain extent, not
Yeah.
overtly, but yeah, I never when I look at the first movie, I always see Freddy as 10% humorous,
Mhm.
you know. Even when the hammer hits him, it's kind of funny. Like when that big hammer comes down, you could just tell it fucking hurt.
Yeah.
He's
Oh,
just
yeah.
So but I love Freddy in 1. I really do. Love Freddy in 1 so much.
Well, I gotta ask you, like, what is the scariest sequence in the film for you? And I guess why?
It's the body bag, because it's so just rough looking.
Mhm.
There's nothing like, it's too surreal, you know?
Yeah.
The way they did their makeup on, Tina, and her skin's, like, pale and blue, and when she gets dragged, it's just and then there's that one scene where I don't know what the hell it is. It looks like they're not snakes. They
Like
look like
centipedes, aren't
massive.
they?
I guess so.
Yeah.
They look like giant slugs, like, or like super
Oh,
like
it's
they were gross. That scene is like, oh god,
yeah, it
that
makes your skin crawl.
yeah, that grossed me out.
Even there's something unsettling about, like, the boiler room scenes. It kind of alludes, but at the very beginning, they're kind of like showing like the tease of like him being back there, and you're just trying to figure out what's going on, especially on first watch, and just something very unsettling about it. Just very, very creepy. um Now, we obviously know Wes Craven used a lot of practical effects. Are there certain effects that you feel hold up best today?
In 1, oh yeah, definitely the spandex wall.
Yeah.
It's so simple, but it looks good. I actually think that the stretchy arms is a little goofy.
Come
You
on
can see
now.
that
It looks ridiculous, but
you can see the wires, especially in 4K. You can see them. Um, yeah, I think the spandex wall scene, and obviously the rotating room, is pretty brilliant.
yeah,
Um,
that felt ahead of its time. I mean, really, in retrospect.
I also love the blow up doll that gets pulled through the door.
Once you
Like,
see it, you can't unsee it.
it's a blow up doll. It just gets it goes right through.
Got Nick joining us. What's up, Nick?
Oh man.
All right. And then, well, obviously, we know the soundtrack and the sound design are iconic. How do you feel like that they elevate the dreamlike, nightmarish atmosphere for the film?
Tenfold,
Yeah.
hand in hand. It's the way Phantasm, the theme to that movie, makes that it matches what that movie's going for. It's like some sort of like Phantasm is not a nightmare, but it feels like you're in a different realm,
Oh, it's
and it
so
matches
creepy.
that Nightmare on Elm Street. It sounds like a nightmare. It's
Mhm.
Charles Bernstein. Just it's iconic. You know.
I just wonder if the movie would be as effective if you didn't have such an iconic soundtrack behind it. You know, if you strip that away, I mean, I don't know. I think it would still be scary, but Charles Bernstein's score elevates it
Yeah,
significantly, you know?
I think you could say that for a lot of movies like
Mhm.
Jaws and certainly Halloween and um probably even Friday the 13th to a certain extent. You know, I mean, a lot of the music is, I dare say, in horror movies, especially back then, probably the strongest element, or probably the most important. Top five anyway.
Christian, you got to Nick's
Rumor
saying
has it Christian has that blow up doll in his bedroom. It's not blowing up right now. It's folded up in the bag. It's
Yeah,
actually my wife's out of town though, so I'll probably need it.
yeah, it's gonna
No,
get some weekend usage.
yeah,
Oh, that's
I'll have to
funny.
get it. I'll have to get it situated.
Um, and how do you think Nightmare on Elm Street influenced later horror films, both obviously in the 80s, but beyond that point?
So much. I think if you look at a lot of horror films from like 86 to 90, you can see absolutely the Elm Street influence on literally tons of movies.
Yeah.
Tons. Like there's movies like it's slipping me. It's a little slasher Arrow video put out where they have like a killer that looks like a burn guy. It's literally an Elm Street ripoff. There's movies like Dream Demon from the UK, like kind of like a dreamy slasher film. There's movies like Bad Dreams.
Dreamstalker, did you ever see that from
Sure.
Terrorvision?
Yeah, I mean, the probably one of the most influential '80s horror film. I mean, there's so many movies tried to
Like
be
replicate it.
like Elm Street. Yeah,
Night
you know,
Killer, a personal favorite.
yeah, Night Killer. um,
For better or worse, I guess.
Tons of movies, dude. Just literal tons of them. You could just see the nightmare DNA in them.
You got Steven joining us. What's up, Steven?
What's up, Steven?
All right. And this one's a tough one. So GC was asking, out of all the songs in the Nightmare movies, which song is your favorite? That's really tough. I feel like you're more in the know on this than I am.
Quiet Cool, Joe Lamont, and if he's a hardcore fan, he'll know what that's from. We'll see if Face the Movies is a real one. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
I shared a reel about it the other day.
Yeah,
It's the replacement song in Dream Warriors on the VHS and Laserdisc when they had to take out Into
oh,
the
that's right.
Fire.
Yep.
But here's the thing. Joe Lamont is a master. He has a record out. He did a record in 85 and it's phenomenal. And then he did songs for horror movies that never really made it to vinyl except a couple of them. Like he did Flesh to Flesh for Return of the Living Dead 2. He did the Heavenly Body soundtrack, which is amazing. And then he did. Do you remember Nightmare 4 where you go into the Craven and you hear that song? I wanna be your pride and joy.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Oh,
Joe
yeah.
Lamont.
Oh, okay.
That's Joe Lamont. And that song, funny story, that song never made it. It's not on the actual soundtrack.
Oh, no way.
So what happened was that song was recorded and done, and it got used in the movie, and then it just the actual master tape of that song ended up in a vault somewhere. I think Joe Lamont owned the song.
Mm-hmm.
Well, somebody years later, right before COVID, knew Joe Lamont, managed to ask him if they could put it out, and he gave him permission. The original master of Pride and Joy, the song in its entirety, is on YouTube. Somebody uploaded it with permission from Joe Lamont, so you can listen to that. It's a great little song. But yeah, Joe Lamont's Quiet Cool got used on. I love Joe Lamont. He's one of my favorite like underground 80s hard rock anthemic musicians. He just made great music. So yeah, Quiet Cool is a great song. But
That's a great
it
choice.
also, I will, I'm not saying that that's not my choice, but just to not be that guy, I will also say on the Nightmare on Elm Street 5 soundtrack, I don't think it's really in the movie, but on the Nightmare on Elm Street 5 soundtrack, I think we talked about this last time. Mammoths Can't Take the Hurt. It's one of
Oh
my favorite
yeah.
songs. It's the opening track on the vinyl for Nightmare 5, and it's a brilliant, great late 80s song. I just love it. And Wasp also has a song on that soundtrack too. It's called Savage. It's great. It's a great song.
Look at you,
So there's a
man.
ton. It's hard to just pick one, but Can't Take the Hurt by Mammoth is certainly one of them, probably if not the song. So
The one I always think of is Nightmare from Tuesday Night. I know that
great.
that's
Yeah.
like one of the more known ones, but that, if I think of like one specific song from the franchise, that's always the one that I usually come back to. So moving right along. So we got one of your favorites, Freddy's Revenge.
Where's the autographs?
No, I got nothing, man. Listen, don't worry. I won't completely fail you on that.
First off, you got to get that original VHS because it's the
I
only one
know.
where they changed the artwork and it's brilliant.
I do like that.
You know,
Um, well, I know that you definitely have a special relationship with this movie. And is there any other reasons why you feel like that this one stands out so much more compared to, I would say, probably compared to the first one and then the sequels?
it's scary.
Hmm.
I mean, it's legitimately a. I've there's no other there's no other slasher film I've ever seen that has the tone of part two, where it's truly scary like that to me. I mean, it's such a. I really think it's a great, legitimately great slasher movie, and every scene with Freddy is so, man. It's like almost demonic. And then when you see him chasing Lisa in the house before the pool party scene, it's like there's he's creepy in the sense that even if you watch it 1,000 times, you just don't want to get near him
No,
in
not at
that
all.
movie. So, yeah, I think it's probably to me it's one of the greatest horror films. I owe my horror fandom to Freddy's Revenge. If I had not, I really think if I had not watched that movie first, I wouldn't be here.
Well,
I'd be just doing and I still am a musician, but like I'd probably just be focused on only that till this very day and making records and playing shows more often. But like without, I really think if I hadn't had fallen in love with Elm Street 2, I probably would have the next week I would have moved on to whatever.
yeah,
And who knows? But yeah, that's how much I love Elm Street 2.
man. Yeah, it's funny though because I feel like that there's been a little bit of resurgence or like a reassessment for this movie because I remember growing up, this was one of the films that not a lot of people connected with, or it felt like in a lot of ways almost like the what would you say like the Halloween 3 out of the franchise in a lot of ways.
Maybe so. I don't know that I ever remembered feeling that as much as a fan of it. Um, I mean, it was always people always were like all of them are all right except for Freddy's Dead. I remember that,
That's
but
fair. Yeah.
maybe people. Listen. I mean, there are some people that I'm sure out there that just they like the rules of the movie, and
Hmm.
then so 2 is just like, it doesn't really count though, blah, blah. I'm sure there's people like that, but it seemed to me like a lot of people that I talked to when I got into it, I remember meeting a lot of people at the time that were like, "Oh, that's the best makeup of all time.
I will
That
agree
look of
with that.
Freddy." So I for me, in my, getting into the movies and stuff, I always remembered meeting a lot of people that whether they thought it was their favorite or not, I didn't maybe not so much, but I always saw people say, "Oh, that's the scariest Freddy ever was. That's the best makeup there was." There would always be a certain level of praise for it, from what I remember. But that's
Yeah.
just my story of it. It was harder to gauge stuff back then too. Like, the horror bubble online in
Very
2012.
different, I'm sure.
Yeah, when I started YouTube in 2012, and when I say started YouTube, really, I just mean I made a channel and upload random shit I would film with my iPhone 3G. You know, you didn't really
Taking it
feel
back.
community is like would have been such a silly word. It was just
Yeah.
like, you just kind of threw shit online, and if it got 7 views, it was like, holy crap. I'm serious. So, I
Yeah, no,
mean,
no, I believe it.
it's harder to gauge. I remember with Halloween, it was a little bit more of a different story because I do remember being a part of like Halloween fan groups and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And part Halloween 3, I remember it was the same old tired song you would hear, but it was prevalent. Oh, it's so stupid, you
crazy
know.
though, because I mean, you've seen it all though. I mean, obviously that's over such a long period of time because I'll be honest, I knew that there was like, discords and like message boards and things like that for horror, but maybe I just was like oblivious to it. I didn't realize that there was so many people out there that were like really really ingrained in it like that till social media started really popping off like that. So kind of crazy to see where we're at now, but
Oh, it's nuts.
yeah, no, I swear. Uh, so with Freddy's Revenge, so this is 5 years after Nancy's battle with Freddy. New family moves into her old house. So teenager Jesse Walsh begins to suffer violent nightmares and terrifying visions of Freddy Krueger, who now seeks to possess Jesse's body to re-enter the real world. As Jesse's friends and classmates fall victim to Freddy's escalating terror, the line between dreams and reality collapses. Darker and more surreal than the original, Freddy's Revenge pushes Freddy into the physical world, unleashing some of the franchise's most shocking and nightmarish set pieces. Um, Now, I know we were talking about this. So, Nightmare on Elm Street 2 feels darker, more oppressive, and I would say like more surreal than the first film. Do you think that that makes it scarier, or does it make it feel like, I guess, like stranger in a way?
Yes to both. Obviously, it's just
Hmm.
strange. Obviously, it's a strange movie. But I think strange can be scary. We're, in life, I think we're kind of apprehensive, somewhat scared of anything we don't get or understand all
For
that
sure.
much. And I remember just like when I saw it the first time, being so tripped out by every fucking scene.
Hmm.
Like just the fact that Jesse sleepwalks out of his house down to a bar in the middle of the night while it's raining and just sees like he just goes into this like you know this was well before ever seen a movie like Cruising.
Oh,
So
yeah.
if you know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about, so just seeing that scene in Elm Street 2 where like I put myself in the shoes of I'm this 17-year-old kid and I stumble into this crazy fucking bar where everybody's got like a Judas Priest cosplay on, and he sees the teacher and he grabs him. I'm just like, that made me like those scenes made me uncomfortable, not because really of any like weird sexual perversion or something like that, just because like I was like, I don't get it. Like, what is going on? I had never
Yeah.
seen, you gotta understand, man. Like, I saw the mainstream stuff throughout the years that would come out, but like that was it. So I never
Hmm.
really like, to me, Elm Street 2 was off the beaten path in terms of
Oh,
like
for sure.
seeing a horror film. So like I'd seen I remember I saw 3 and on up in the theater, and I would see those were mainstream horror films.
Hmm.
And you got they were so like going to watch Elm Street 2, and I see the, I didn't even put 2 and 2 together. I just thought maybe it was just that was the dream. I almost thought like I guess I in my mind I was like, oh, this is a dream where he's seeing his teacher at the bar. Now I know that was no, that wasn't a dream. He was
Yeah.
there.
Def-
So like yeah,
Definitely wasn't.
everything about that movie was scary to me. Like everything, because it was all just foreign,
Hmm.
and like there's still stuff about that movie that's just weird. Like when he takes him back to the gym and he makes Jesse just do laps in the basketball court, and then you see that court, you see that room
So
at the
weird.
far right, and it's glowing red.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, why is it glowing red? Like I was just tripped out by everything. So yeah, I mean, to me, I really don't think anybody would disagree with me. They may say I like 1 better than 2, and
Yeah.
that's fine. But I really don't think anybody would disagree with me that 2 is just genuinely, abjectly scarier.
Yeah, I agree with you because there's just something about it that, obviously things are very much like darker with this one. And I think that that's what I just love about it so much is that it goes to places that I don't think a lot of the other films necessarily tap into. But yeah, I remember the first time watching it and it was I saw them in order, so it was kind of jarring to see this one. But as time has gone on, I've really developed like an appreciation for it. And I'm excited to see what it looks like in 4K. I haven't had a chance to dive into
Oh, 2?
any of them yet. Yep.
Shit. That's good, brother.
Yeah, man. I'm excited. So kind of off topic, but Steven had a question. So with the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, what were the reasons for that movie getting so much backlash? He's curious to hear our thoughts on it. I haven't seen it in a long time. I'm probably not the
What was the question again?
he had said
With the remake of Elm Street, what were the reasons for the movies getting so much backlash? All I've heard is bad things. Oh, have you not seen it?
I don't think he's seen it.
Watch it.
Yeah.
Watch it, you'll get your answers. But put it to you like this. Nobody can replace Stallone as Rocky.
No.
Right? Nobody
Mhm.
can replace Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Terminator. Nobody can replace Robert Englund as Freddy.
No, and
And if
it felt too similar. Like they were trying to do a lot of the same beats from the original rather than try to do something different. That's what I recall.
well, and that's the thing too. I'm not saying you can't make that work because I like, but here's the thing: when you have something like Freddy, where the character is to a certain degree perfect, it's because to me, if you can take something that can connect to literally the world
Mhm.
over, that means the character is perfected. So you're already starting at a disadvantage. You're
Oh, for
already
sure.
starting at a point of, all right, so how can we make Freddy different? You can't say how can we make Freddy better? You can only make him different.
For sure. Yep.
So that's already a 50-50 shot of, you know, right then and there. There are situations where, okay, so we've done the movie Maniac. How can we make it different? And you can succeed. And I think the remake of that movie succeeds all the
That's a good
way,
example.
But with the remake of Elm Street, it just, I always thought that the movie felt AI generated. Like it's just,
I could see that.
I think it feels somewhat bland. The only saving grace for me really is Quentin, which was a new character.
Mhm.
And I think he should have been more of the lead of the film, quite frankly, because he's the only one that the audience, I think, can really get a grasp of and like. So it just, the movie doesn't, I think it fails in more places, in too many places, and doesn't succeed in enough. It's just, you know,
I'd be curious to rewatch it because it's been probably since it initially came out. That
oh
was the last
God,
time I
yeah.
saw it. So I can only imagine whether
I
good
rewatched
or
it this year. I did a review on it earlier this year, maybe like 3 or 4 months ago, and
Mhm.
it I'm sorry, doing Halloween or Friday the 13th, it's I'm not gonna say it's just like easier, but you can spend about 10 minutes casting somebody to play either one of those characters. What size? How tall are they? Okay, you know, what do they look like? What's their build like?
Mhm.
Okay, cool. We can work with that. Freddy, it's apples and pomegranates. It's like it's not even apples and oranges. It's not even that. It's way more different than that. You have to have somebody that can, you damned if you do, damned if you don't. Do you like I said, you can't make that character better. You can only try to do it different. So it's already it's already past an uphill battle. It's just
For sure. No, I agree with you. It's I'd be curious to see if like my opinion on that movie has changed at all since initially seeing it. I mean, it's quite a bit of time removed from that initial viewing. Um, Now, for Nightmare on Elm Street 2, how effective is Freddy in the film compared to the original? Do you feel like his appearance and demeanor in this film ranks among like probably his scariest appearances throughout the franchise?
Of course, yeah. It's not even a question of is he scarier, is he more effective? Tenfold,
Yeah.
tenfold to me. You know,
Um, Now, I know the dream sequences, especially in this film, they start to blur a little bit harder into reality. Do you feel like that heightens the horror, or do you think it weakens the rules that was set up by the original?
no, I don't think it weakens anything per se. I think at the end of the day, the scenes are just effective.
Hmm.
I think my favorite scene is kind of how like Freddy doesn't even really go to Jesse immediately. Like Jesse kind of like spies on Freddy in the beginning. When he goes outside, he kind of gets up in the middle of the night and he hears something. He kind of goes outside and then he looks down. He sees somebody grabbing something.
Hmm.
And then he goes in the backyard and he's looking and he sees somebody walk. Freddy's not even going after him. That's what's scary.
Yeah,
He's not even going after Jesse at first. Like, it's brilliant to me. It's just brilliant. I can't say enough good things about it. I just think like I said, it's just scarier. I think with the exception of Dan and the motorcycle scene in 5,
yep.
I think that the chest bursting scene in this movie where Freddy comes out of Jesse is probably the most effective visual sequence because it's half performance and half effects and half performance. Where some of the stuff in the latter sequels, it's all effects, which
Hmm.
is exhilarating. But again, Mark Patton was so good at making you feel how painful it would have been for Freddy to be coming out of him. It's just amazing.
Takes it over the top, I feel like, with his performance.
He's great. It's phenomenal.
Now, where would you rank that just across the board with the whole franchise? Like, do you consider that probably one of the scariest moments?
Oh yeah,
Hmm.
the scariest.
Um, Now, Jesse's possession by Freddy turns the film, I would say, almost into body horror territory. Do you think that that works as well as the dream stalking horror that we got in the first film?
Clearly, I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't think it would have worked as well if they would have tried to done it more than once.
Hmm.
But yeah. And I think because, like I said, going back, I feel like I keep repeating myself, and I don't mean to,
Yeah.
but it works because of Mark Patton.
And do you feel like well, for Jesse's story, do you think of it more like psychological horror compared to Nancy's arc in the first one?
Maybe so. You know, my weird mythos is Freddy tried coming in through the dreams and he failed. So in a weird way, I felt like maybe he was saying to himself, "Well, let's methodically try to possess somebody instead and see if we can if I can get more victims that way." Like maybe that was it. But I always say that part 2 is my new nightmare. Like
I could see that.
that's my new nightmare. That's the one where it's worse than Freddy. It's like the devil,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh,
So
man, you got me so hyped to go back and rewatch that one.
it's
Um,
it's the best to me. I mean, I don't think it's to me. It's just that 2 is the best.
do you think it deserves more respect as a horror film?
I mean, I don't really care, but at the same time, uh, I don't think I'm losing my mind, if that makes sense. Like when I praise the film that much, like I really don't think I'm out of line when I talk about it. Like I wouldn't say it if I didn't believe it.
Yeah.
Like I really say, tell me I do feel sometimes where I'm like, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me that that movie's not legitimately scary. Tell me that that film doesn't have the best performance with Mark Patton. Like tell me I'm wrong. you know. And I know some people, of course, will hear this and others will say, well, of course I think you're wrong, and that's fine, but my point is that's how convicted I feel about 2. So
GC mentioned that Robert Englund mentioned that part 2 was his favorite makeup out of all the films. I would agree with that. I mean, the overall look is definitely probably, I think, the best the character ever looks over the course of the whole franchise. And then Alexander says Nightmare on Elm Street 2 has some of the best effects. I love when Freddy's coming out of Jesse, insane. And then we have Mark joining us tonight. What's up, Mark? From Tales from the Shelf. Go check out his channel. He's got some great stuff he's working on.
hell yeah.
All right. So we're moving right along. So we are switching it up and we are going to be talking about Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors.
I'm gonna grab a Coke really quick.
Yeah. Let's see who else we got in the chat tonight. Yeah, Mark. What's up, man? Thank you so much for joining us tonight. 2 looks really good in 4K. I'm definitely excited to check that out. I have not had a chance to dive into the box set yet. I'm trying to savor it. I have to say though, I feel like I haven't been this excited for a release with the 4K set as I have been since, say, probably the Friday the 13th box set. Is that crazy?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Oh no, I was just saying that I haven't been as excited for a release like I was for the 4K Steelbook set for Nightmare on Elm Street since probably like Friday the 13th, the Scream Factory set.
I was excited for the Night of the Living Dead 90.
Oh yeah, that's true. Okay.
But your point, I agree with your point. The Friday box set in some ways is still, I don't know. I guess I don't know. I don't know what the greatest box set is. There's a lot of factors I put into it. The way it looks, the hype around it, what it did. I still remember, dude. I don't know if you were, you were around the same age. So I know you
Yeah.
were obviously, you were at least looking into it. I'm going to tell you something. You remember that Friday box set where it was a tin box and it has Jason Goes to Hell's character on
Yes.
the front?
Yep.
Dude, when that got announced, I remember the internet losing its mind. I'm serious, because dude, remember that was pre-Halloween box set.
That's true. Yep.
That was huge when it got announced. Huge.
So would you say that that probably sets the bar for as far as releases go for you?
No. But it did. I hadn't experienced anything like that in physical media before. So the feeling and the excitement of it,
Mm-hmm.
I would literally just watch every video of people talking about the announcement of it on YouTube at the time because it was so surreal. I was literally just eating up hearing people talk about it. Warner Brothers and Paramount teamed together to put this, like, I couldn't believe it. So everything after that, it seemed possible. But before that, it didn't seem possible. So when that got announced, it just, I mean, you can understand. I mean,
Oh, for sure.
it was fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to put it. Like, that's still one of my favorite box sets of all time because of how it blew up everybody's mind. It blew everybody's mind. So
I remember the Halloween box set. That's
that was
probably the
next year. That was 2014. Yeah.
yeah, that's and I wasn't really consistently collecting like that. Like I kind of had a point where I was really into VHSs and DVDs, and then I went away to school, and then collecting kind of was on the back burner. So I remember all the hype that was around the Halloween box set, but I just wasn't really into it like that at that point. But kind of going back to what you were saying, it's like I'm watching every video under the sun to like all the speculation and when it initially was released. So definitely a really cool experience. But so for Dream Warriors, what's your relationship with this movie?
I loved it when I first saw it because I hadn't really seen an 80s horror film like that. It's kind of the mecca of 80s horror. I mean, it's so the movie looks and feels humongous. And it's kind of I think Dream Warriors is kind of like, if in the late 80s people were going to make like a time capsule that
Hmm.
wouldn't be open for 30 years and it would be like this is what the 80s were like, there'd probably be a Dream Warriors VHS in there to show this is what the world of horror was represented as. I think Dream Warriors is kind of like one of those movies. Like now this is what I call 80s, whatever it would be for movies. Like
Yeah.
that's what Dream Warriors is. It's kind of like the mecca of 80s horror. I mean, it really is. You
No, I
know,
I would agree with that. I mean, it's the perfect blend of horror and fantasy. I feel like a culmination of both. Um, I know for a lot of people, I mean, you could definitely make a case for this being for some people their favorite. Um, I lean more towards like probably the first or second as a favorite entry for me, but that's just me personally.
I think I think 3. I remember reading about this and I heard somebody say it, and it was just so true. For a lot of people, the Dream Warriors works so well is because it's kind of like everything you're supposed to do with sequels.
Hmm.
Have characters that you like and are familiar with, blending them in with new characters that if the characters you like take them in, then you as an audience member will want to take them in as well. And then, just raise the stakes. So it's kind of a best case scenario of making a sequel. It's instead of it's connecting like dots in a way where a lot of sequels sometimes they can't do that because people don't want to come back or this or that. And Elm Street 3 perfectly connects the dot to one, you know.
It feels like the franchise at this point is firing on all cylinders. I think everything that makes this franchise so special. I mean, you get it all in this specific film. And then obviously as the movies go on, like the direction kind of shifts a little bit, becomes almost MTV-esque in a lot of ways. But for this film, for those of you guys, just tuning in a psychiatric hospital, a group of troubled teenagers is plagued by the same nightmare, the return of Freddy Krueger. When Freddy begins killing them in their sleep, Nancy Thompson, now a therapist, returns to help the kids fight back. Discovering they can harness special powers within their dreams, the teens band together as Dream Warriors to face Freddy on his own turf. Combining imaginative special effects, nightmare imagery, and a strong emphasis on Freddy's supernatural battles, the third film revitalized the franchise and remains one of the most beloved entries. So, obviously, with this one, Dream Warriors brings Nancy back. How important is her return for the story and for grounding the film in the original film's legacy?
It's funny. I like Nancy more in this film, but I kind of like. I don't know. Like I'm a weird guy. Like I kind of like the bad guys in certain movies,
Hmm.
and I like how the woman doctor. She's kind of like an older lady. She's just like there's no bullshit with her,
No, not at all.
and I kind of like her.
No nonsense.
Yeah, like she's like put his ass in the quiet room, like
Yep.
just like
Yep.
And I really like Larry Fishburne in this movie.
Oh yeah.
But no, I like Nancy in this one. Um, I think they used her perfectly. Like you know, she's in it. She becomes a big part of it once she's in it. But they I love all the kids in
Oh
this
yeah.
one. Like, there's really not a bad apple that's just like, ugh. Like, Jennifer Rubin, I love her in this movie,
Yeah, she's awesome.
and I just think, yeah, she's beautiful in this movie too. I just love her, and I love her. She's got on a. I didn't really notice it that much before,
Hmm.
but she's got a tooth and nail shirt on in the beginning of the movie when
Oh
you see
yeah.
her,
Yep.
like album cover for Dokken. I'm like, oh, that's fucking awesome. So I never really noticed that before, but obviously when you watch it on 4K on the big screen, you just like you're watching a little bit more closely at everything.
For sure, you're picking up new details.
So that's cool. But I love all the kids. And if anybody watches Bad Dream starring Jennifer Rubin, you get a whole new appreciation for her because she is so good in Bad Dreams. So she's I'm not taking anything away from Patricia Arquette, but I think Rubin could have been the star of this movie.
I could see that.
I think she had it just as much.
Got JG
But
Michael joining us. What's up, JG Michael?
oh, very nice, yeah.
Have you seen Friday the 13th Part 3 in theaters?
No, I wish. I'd
Oh my
love to see
god.
that because I know that Regal did that tonight in true 3D, and I think they're gonna be doing a bunch of stuff throughout the month.
Yeah, it's I mean this time of year, man, you got all sorts of theaters, drive-ins playing.
I'll tell you what I want to go see. I might go tomorrow, dude. I'm actually dying to watch it. Smashing Machine.
I want to go see that so bad.
I might go tomorrow if I can stay local because I can't be away from the dogs
Yeah, of
too long.
course.
But I might go see if I can run down and just go see that. I want to see Smashing Machine so
I'm a
bad, dude.
I'm a sucker for the Safdie brothers. Like obviously Uncut Gems, but I like Good Time a lot.
Oh
So
yeah, dude.
yeah.
Uncut Gems is like a nail biter.
Mhm.
So
Infused with almost feels like very Abel Ferreira, kind of John Cassavetes energy. Very, very fast pace, on edge. I love that type of stuff.
oh
So
yeah.
um yeah, that is, I told my wife, I'm like, we have to go see that this weekend. I'll move hell and high water to go see it. Okay, so the idea of the kids in Dream Warriors developing dream powers, obviously that's a big shift from the pure horror that we get in the first two films. Do you think that enhances the movie, or does it lean too much in like the dark fantasy aspect of it?
I think I think in a very very broad sense, I think it enhances it since people seem to love it.
Hmm.
I think it rides that line very very well. It doesn't. It could have easily gone, over the top, but I think the Freddy performance kind of dictated the uh, the shade of gray for this movie. And I think Freddy's performance kind of allowed the kids to not necessarily get kind of silly, but be kids. I'm
Hmm.
the wizard master. I'm bad. All that stuff. I think if you would have put part two Freddy in this movie, then oh god, it would have been oil and water.
I don't
You
know.
know,
I don't know if I could have seen that working.
you know what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
I think the Freddy performance you get in this dictated how far the kind of whimsical nature of it could go, and it worked it's a very fine shade of gray that this movie is, and it's done so it's a little bit darker than you would think it would be for a part three, because Freddy's not exactly smiling when he yells welcome to prime time. I mean, he looks mad as hell.
Oh,
You
he's
know, I
not.
think I think people got to
Yeah.
remember that. He's not joking. Like, he is pissed. So yeah, I think this movie rides a very very fine line and handles it damn near perfectly. Part three just works on a mass scale. I think it's the fan. It's got to be. I really think part three is the fan favorite. I think Dream Warriors is considered the best Elm Street. And I like that because 3 is a good, like 3 is such a dramatic number. I agree with Robert Zemeckis. People always
Mhm.
asked him about why didn't you do a Back to the Future 4? Obviously 3 was successful. He's like, because 4, he goes, like, there's something about the number 4. He goes, and I get it. He's like, I just don't like it. 4 sounds like you're just trying to make up, like 3 is a dramatic number. It sounds final.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I agree with that, but when it just makes sense to me when he said that. So, and I agree. I think 3 is, obviously I love the rest of the movie. Yeah, I just think 3 is it, man. People love 3. It's just a perfect shade of gray that, most slasher movies, they either try to stay too dark and people don't buy it anymore because they're not scared at that point, or they go too light and it's people are like, oh, I miss it when he was scary. 3 just happened to somehow ride that
It's like the sweet
magic
spot.
line. And yeah, I think it's really the only, I can't think of any other movie, especially for part 3, that's really been able to do that. Maybe Friday 3, because Friday
Mhm.
3 is, you know, it might be Friday 3. That's actually probably the other example I do for that genre, for that franchise anyway. It's tone of it's perfect. So,
Now, I gotta ask, which dream sequence is the most terrifying in this film?
oh, the nurse that starts having sex with Joey.
Oh.
'Cause, that is like, because I always I always like think a little too much when I'm watching this, and I was like, oh, that's Freddy doing that to him. Like, I wonder if Freddy.
You think
I
you're
was
getting
thinking,
laid, and
and I'm
then
thinking to myself, I wonder if Freddy is getting off doing that to him. Like, I think too
I
much,
mean,
you know.
no, but, like, is it really that far off from his character? I mean, I know that they kinda allude to it, but, I
That's what I'm
mean,
saying. I start thinking about stuff like that, and then I'm like, oh god, I gotta stop. So that
he's
scene
down with
always,
whatever.
yeah, I always think about that scene too much. Um, Other than that, no, I'm gonna stick with that. That's gonna be my answer. I'm sticking with,
Okay.
because the rest of them, they're kind of gorgeous to look at, as in the effects sense. The big worm Freddy. It's just like you're in awe of it. It's just like I
Yeah.
love seeing it. But the nurse, it's like it just bothers me.
Yeah.
It just bothers
To
me.
be honest, up until you mentioned that, I've never really looked at it that way, but you're right. I mean,
Yeah,
anytime he's coming through as, like, some sort of, like an illusion basically, but it is
yeah,
him underneath it. So,
yeah, yeah.
I'm sure he probably gets something out of it. I don't know why, like the puppet veins, that that
That's just
whole
pain. Yeah, it's painful.
oh my gosh. I remember first time watching that. I mean, that's always the one that stuck out to me. Um, Now we know Patricia Arquette makes her debut here as Kristen. How do you think she stands out as, a horror heroine, or I guess you could say a final girl for this one?
I mean, people love her. I think she's great. I think her best stuff is honestly in the very beginning of the movie,
Mhm.
where she's just like doing her thing, building a house and trying to stay awake. Like, I just love it. I love her taking what is that, freeze dried coffee? Is that like Insta coffee? What was that? Is that something that people still do?
God, I hope not. I
Like,
don't
you know what
know.
I'm talking about?
Yes, it looks terrible. Um, you would never catch me drinking that.
Like, I'm assuming that's Insta coffee, right? Where
Yeah,
it's like you take a spoonful and just put it in water and then microwave it.
yeah,
And like she just took a spoonful of it and then sipped on that Diet Coke and then plays some Joe Lamont, quite cool, in the
yeah.
VHS or Laserdisc edition. Um, but I actually like. I think that's her. Like, I'm not being facetious. I just love that opening sequence. So, like, to me, that's like her best moments. You
Sets
know,
the tone for the rest of the movie.
yeah, and it lets you know that these kids have had some dreams lately and they have been pleasant.
Mm-mm.
So, you know, yeah, I love that opening. The opening of 3 maybe my favorite. I just love it. It's the perfect montage. It's I love the bedroom, the look of the bedroom, and just the way Patricia's just she's tired. She's like just the fact that I buy that she's not having pleasant dreams because she took the spoonful of that instant coffee, like, and just swallowed it.
We
Like,
should have
that's
done we
brutal.
should have done that challenge on the live stream to see what that I can only imagine how
You
bitter
know
that
what?
is.
That's actually a good idea. I'll have to, if I do it, I'll have to give you credit. But
Okay.
I'm gonna look up if I can still buy Instacart. It's like it was like in a peanut butter type jar, right?
Dude, it looked terrible. You can't tell me that there's anything about that that looked appealing. Now, I was gonna mention, so we know that they're, in a psychiatric hospital. Did you feel like the setting added to the horror throughout this film?
Probably so. I think so because it's like it's just doom and gloom,
It can't go anywhere.
you know? Yeah.
And nobody believes, like, other than Nancy believes, like, what they're going through is real.
Yeah. And it's
And
so
he's
funny because it's like, man, Freddy versus Jason, they tied in that Hypnosil all those years later
yeah,
to this movie where you first learn about Hypnosil. So, and just think they could have fixed all this shit had they just
I
given the
know.
damn kids the Hypnosil.
I know.
Like,
It would have
obviously,
ended here.
it worked perfectly fine for Nancy until, you know, the calling people into the dreams thing came into play. It's and that's the other balancing act is like eventually with all these new elements coming in, you have to thread the needle for coherency.
That part's
So
tough.
how is Nancy gonna see Freddy if she's taking Hypnosil? Well, the connection of other dreamers that are dealing with this can call you into like it's like okay, I can buy that.
Yeah.
You know,
No, I agree. And this is obviously a movie. It touches on various themes like, trauma, addiction, self-destruction. Um, how do you feel like that those real fears blend with the more supernatural that happens in this film?
I think my internet flickered for just re-ask me that question. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
you're good. So we know that the movie touches on various themes like trauma, addiction, self-destruction. How do you feel like that those real fears blend? Or is it effective with like the supernatural side of things with how they convey it?
Yeah, the way I think the way you see Kristen's mom, you know,
She's so
being
nasty.
she's so self-absorbed. It I don't know if it's a metaphor, but I think I don't know. I can imagine if a parent's watching this movie with their kid, they may say to themselves, "Oh, this, like, you know, this is kind of like almost like the Megan is missing for,
Mm,
listen to your kids if they're telling you they're going through something. Don't think that they're full of shit." In that sense, like, because this is the worst case scenario. They're telling you
sure.
like something's going on when I go to sleep, and it's like the stay off the internet lesson for kids almost. So yeah, I think this movie does everything so well, and yeah, I think that's actually a crucial element is the relationship you see with Kristen's mom, albeit it's not that much in the film, but every scene with the mom is impactful because you just get the sense that she doesn't give a rat's ass,
No.
you
And
know?
and that's like one thing that I do commend the franchise is it's I wouldn't say it's always super subtle, but you definitely know that the parents, I mean, in various ways, shapes, forms, they're not great people. Like,
No,
they all have their flaws and vices and things like that. So, the kids unfortunately are the ones to deal with the consequences, really. Um, so with Dream Warriors, we know that it's has, been known for its ambitious practical effects. Is there a certain kill or nightmare that you still feel like holds up the best when you go back and revisit this movie?
honestly, all of them are pretty damn good. I think the one that got me the most when I was watching the movie for the first time was probably Nancy, because I really had no clue that she was gonna get killed.
No, not at all.
You know, so that one was pretty. When I first watched, I was like, "Oh shit," because I thought, you know, surely she's gonna be in the rest of these, because they brought her back, but
I th-
I don't
I
know.
think that it's a bold swing though. I mean, if you really think about it, if you didn't have any of the other sequels to reference, I mean, to take your most iconic character and kill her off in the third one,
Right? Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I mean, it was a definitive. She died. You know, it's funny because I honestly, how much kills are actually in Dream Warriors? I don't feel like it's that much. They kill the wheelchair kid, the puppet kid, the wizard.
Um, the dad in the junkyard.
You're right, he does. No, there's actually a number of kills there. Yeah, the junkyard.
I don't know if that has aged quite as well, but
Oh, that
because
right. I like that stop motion shit though.
reminds me a little bit of Evil Dead 2.
I like that shit.
Yeah.
Um, I also I like Saxon in this movie. He's a broken man.
Catch him down on his luck.
So yeah, I like that part of it too, because you kind of get the opposite with Alice's dad. He starts out as a drunkard, and then he gets his redemption.
Yeah, he's kind of a bastard.
And John Saxon was a really good, he was a good cop in the
Mhm.
first movie with his head on straight.
Yeah. Now we see in this film, the dreamscapes are much more elaborate than in the earlier films. Do you feel like that this was the moment the series leaned fully into like fantasy horror in a lot of ways?
I think, yeah, you have to say that. I think so because, you know, just the just anybody that looks at the movie, they're probably just in awe of everything. It's just all imaginative, and it's just so everything's so huge,
Mm-hmm.
and the way Freddy takes people out is so individualistic in everything, with him being a kaiju monster, above the building cutting the strings where the
Oh
kid
yeah.
falls down, and coming through a TV. Yeah, so yeah, absolutely. I think, hands down. Like I said, I think this movie is in some form or fashion kind of I think this movie could be considered the tip top of the mountain for what 80s horror was capable of, visually with the effects at that time. That's why I think, like I said, I think if you were going to put a time capsule together, you would put Dream Warriors in there for people to see 30 years later, to see what was the world like at this particular moment in time. So
And we got JG mentioned. He's like, I like how people will say killing Nancy is bold, but then get upset about Rachel in Halloween 5. Would you agree with that?
I was never a big Rachel fan, so I didn't give a shit when she died.
Damn.
But do I agree that people get upset about Rachel die? I guess so, because people don't like Tina. I guess, I don't know.
Yeah,
That's just the way it works. You put them in one, then you kill them in the next.
I
This
know.
series was no different. They killed all the rest of them before.
I'll be honest, like I didn't really mind, obviously I don't think Tina really holds a candle to Rachel, but I don't know. I mean, I like that you get it from, you have somebody else kind of taking um that role, I guess, that Rachel had, in the fourth one anyways. So
I mean, when you learn the business side of it from watching documentaries and interviews, you learn they got to kill them off. That way because they're going to want more money
mhm,
when they do the second one, right?
of course.
They're going to want more money. So to avoid that, you get a new star, pay him scale, and then you pay the repeater a touch more, but you're using them far less. You
Yep.
use them for a week, and so you get them in, you get them out.
I just
So
I mean, what I don't know. I'm interested because it's like really what more could they have done with Rachel's character? I feel like her arc basically wasn't for her. But well, last but not least, why do you think Dream Warriors is often considered the best sequel in the franchise? Or why might someone say that?
it does very few things to piss off the audience. I mean,
Fair.
it's like
Yeah.
seriously, it does like it doesn't it doesn't go from black to white. It goes from black to dark gray, right? So it
Mhm.
stays in the same vein. Um, none of I don't feel like any of the characters are blatantly annoying, whether it be on purpose or not on purpose. Um, the story is pretty damn good, you know. I just think they just didn't they they put the money into the effects too. So they just I know it's a simplified way of saying it, but I think that this movie does very little to piss off general audiences.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
and they got Robert back.
yeah.
You know,
Definitely an iconic performance. Well, we're moving right along throughout this nightmare, and we're going to be talking about Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master.
there you
All right. So, where are you at on this one?
go. I like
You,
it more than three. I enjoy watching it more than three.
mhm.
I think visually, this movie is just eye candy. I think this movie has the greatest 80s horror soundtrack over Lost Boys. But
Oh,
that's just my taste. I think
okay.
Lost Boys is clearly the second. I'm not going to diss Lost Boys soundtrack. I would never disrespect Lou Graham like that. Um, when I think of the character, like if you say Freddy Krueger to me, I instantly picture 1988 Dream Master. And I think in a lot of ways, like merchandise wise and a lot of stuff, that look of Freddy is pretty synonymous.
Yeah.
Like the video game for Nintendo had a promotional image of Robert from Part 4. Um, mind you, that game came out in '90, so Dream Child had already come out, but they used the look of Part 4 for the game.
It's interesting.
Um, I think the audience weren't because clearly this movie made even more money.
Mhm.
So I think they made the perfect call to make this film. It's like I really get it. It's like if you try to continue to make a character scary, it's almost like I don't want to say it's insulting to an audience, but it's like you become less scared of something when you get exposed to it.
For sure.
So it's like I think the right call was made to make this movie not as scary or as dark, but it's it's so energetic. I love the look of this. I love the soundtrack. I became such a huge Divinals fan because of this movie, and
Mhm.
the vibe is just fucking cool. I mean, what else can I say? I think Freddy is awesome in it. I love the way he comes back to life. It's so ridiculous that I actually like it and the fact clearly they knew what they were doing, naming the dog Jason. You know,
It's clever, very tongue in cheek.
but I think visually, I actually said this because I'm reviewing the movies two at a time,
Yeah.
and I actually said this on the part 4 and 5 when I was reviewing 4. I said I think 3 has I think 3 has more. What's the word I'm looking for? in a general sense, maybe not in every situation, but in a general sense, 3 has more grandiose
Yes.
effects and stuff, but I still get as much visual stimulation and enjoyment out of what they do in 4. Like, I love the scene where Robert, you know, is dressed up as the nurse, and then he turns around and then he just kind of like does this, and his back goes red, and
Mhm.
then the walls are covered in blood, and he's, all he does is just push the blood out that syringe, but it's like paint. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
visually, I still get as much like enjoyment and as much out of it as what they do in 3. And so I think 4 really is the pinnacle in
Mhm.
every sense of how well the movies were being. Because 4, I think, is the most thrilling and the most fun to watch. And I
Do
never
you
felt like that years ago, but as I've gotten older and I go back and watch the films, I love 3, and I'm never gonna say, "Oh, it's not great." Of course, it's
Mhm.
amazing, but I'll be damned if I just don't think 4 is more fun to watch. I love Tuesday Night.
Is it more accessible? Do you feel like if you were, I mean, out of any of these films, I feel like that this is the one if you're trying to really gauge and get a good feel of like the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. I think this has something for everybody that you could latch on to.
Um, I don't know, like, I think 3 is just as like, put it to you like this, I would not be embarrassed at all if somebody came in and I was watching part 3 or 4.
Mhm.
Um, I think aesthetically and the tempo of 4, I think 4 kinda puts you in a better mood when you watch it,
Mhm.
you know?
For
4's
sure.
and I don't wanna spoil it because I know you're kinda taking your time watching them, but 4 was so far absolutely the most enjoyable one to watch in 4K because a
Oh,
lot of it is shot outside,
yeah,
bright
that's
daylight,
true.
and the cameras can really just go to work, and that HDR just kicks, and 4 has an energy to it, and I think it's just, it's the next it's as good as Dream Warriors, just a lighter shade of gray, but it's more of a punk rock sped movie as opposed to Dream Warriors is maybe a little bit more doom metal, or maybe
Mhm.
not that slow, but you know, Dream Master kind of moves up 20 BPM faster.
Yeah.
It feels like, and I love the characters so much in Dream Master as much as 3. You know,
Did you get okay, so through the Steelbook set, have you gotten through what, 5? Is that as far as you've gotten so far?
no, I watched. I when I got home from work today, I got on the treadmill and which is in my living room, and I
Yeah.
watched Freddy's Dead
Oh, okay.
while I was on the treadmill. Yeah,
What out of the entire Steelbook set, what transfer so far would you say 4 is probably the one you're most impressed with?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, interesting.
And it's not because I mean it's not like any of the restorations were quote unquote done better. I just think certain films allow for a better presentation and super high definition. And
Mhm.
4 is just like I mean it's literally gorgeous.
I'm excited to watch it.
It's
I wanna take my time
gorgeous.
with it, though. Um, well, just a quick rundown about what the Dream Master is all about. So, Freddy Krueger returns to Springwood, stalking a new group of teens through their dreams. When his victims fall one by one, ordinary high school student Alice Johnson discovers she can absorb the strengths of her friends to survive. So, Freddy's attacks grow more inventive and nightmarish, turning ordinary settings, bedrooms, pools, classrooms into deadly dreamscapes. With increasingly surreal visuals and terrifying practical effects, the Dream Master delivers relentless horror while showing Freddy at the height of his cunning and cruelty. Um, so obviously we know in this one, Alice becomes a dream master by inheriting powers. Do you feel like that shift in tone from horror to empowerment fantasy, kind of in a little bit of a way, um, do you feel like it kind of shifts more towards like the fantasy side of things, or does it keep Freddy still just as scary?
No, definitely more so. And I kind of look at 4 as Freddy has gotten really good at what he does.
Hmm.
So now he's kind of having fun and entertaining himself. That's kind of the way I look at it,
Yeah. Okay.
you
Okay.
know.
Um, Now, what would you say, like, which dream sequence or kill stands out as the most horrifying or creative in this film?
Roach Motel, because it's so wacko.
Yeah.
But it's when he squeezes that box and all the guts come out, it's amazing. Uh, and I also love some of the stuff they did in that, like where Freddy throws the weight and it breaks the mirror, and it kind of like as an audience member, you're looking at it, you're like, oh god, he's throwing the weight this way. Um, I also what else was in 4? Drawing a blank. Hmm. I'll stick with that. I'll stick with that as my answer because that is my favorite.
Yeah.
Oh, I also like Wanna Suck Face because, like I said, even though it's a very simple thing, it's like when you see the life come up the girl and she shrivels up, it's just like somehow I can still. Oh, what am I saying? No,
Yeah.
I think the sequence that personifies Freddy at his highest and most entertaining is the waterbed.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Oh,
It's amazing,
so good.
you know. So, and then you
Well,
got Billy Idol, Fatal Charm, which is a great song, which is
oh,
not
yeah.
on the soundtrack, which is weird that it's in the movie. It's not on the original motion picture soundtrack. I don't know why.
You think it has to do with like rights at all, or?
I don't know. I mean, it's in the movie, but it's
Mhm.
not on the. So the way those soundtracks work is like it'd be one record label, and different bands from that record label would be used for the soundtrack back then. So part 4, they used Chrysalis Records. And Chrysalis Records was a label that was at a certain time really big. And some of the more notable acts they had for Chrysalis was like Huey Lewis and the News was a big seller in Chrysalis.
Oh, hell yeah.
But rock, I think, was like not a genre that Chrysalis was really known for. So I think they were trying to really push some artists. And obviously movies was a way. So, Vinnie Vincent Invasion was on that soundtrack, which Vinnie was a guitar player for Kiss a few years prior.
Mhm.
Sea Hags, which is a great kind of late 80s kind of punkish band. There was Go West, which was kind of like a big AOR band. And they had some big hits. They were in movies throughout the 80s a lot. They were in Rocky 4.
Oh, that's right.
Taking on a one-way street when the robot's outside
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
Rocky's, So, yeah, I mean, anyway, yeah, but my point was for some reason, I don't think Billy Idol was on Chrysalis. So that's why he's not on the soundtrack. But I don't know. I guess somehow maybe the record label wanted to promote because that album, I don't think that album actually sold. There wasn't any huge hits off that record. So maybe they wanted to just like have that. And you got to remember too, there was also Are You Ready for Freddy from the Fat Boys. That
Oh,
came
yep,
out
yep.
that came out as a single, but on the Chrysalis soundtrack, that's the Fat Boy song isn't on that because that wasn't Chris. They weren't on Chrysalis, And then there was the DJ Jazzy Jeff Will Smith song that I
It's
don't
like
know what
unofficial,
happened.
right?
Well, it was gonna be official. It was initially,
Okay.
and then something happened, and they went the Fat Boys route, which I think they made the right call because I love both songs, but I love the Fat Boys. Are You Ready for Freddy? And so the DJ Jazzy Jeff song came out and they filmed a video for it. But if you remember when you watch the video, there's an opening. It says this song has no affiliation with the Nightmare on Elm Street series, films, or any intellectual properties, blah blah blah. Like they had to make sure that New Line or Warner they allowed the song to come out, I guess, but I don't know. It was a weird situation, but I know that that song something happened. They went the Fat Boys route instead. I read about
Interesting.
it, but I forgot the specifics.
So
But yeah,
fascinating.
that's another thing about part 4 was such a big film and so much capacity. I mean, there was literally they had more music than the soundtrack even allotted for. You know, like I said, there
Hmm.
was the Fat Boys, and it was fever pitch. And this is probably when a lot of merchandise started coming out around this time.
Oh, he was everywhere at this
80,
point.
yeah, I think 89 was like the first real year of tons of LJN figures,
Hmm.
all those squishy heads, you know, it was just it was pandemonium. It was a fever pitch. 88, 89 is just a fever pitch of Freddy. Fever pitch.
Crazy. Well, I was going to ask you, how do you feel like the nightmares in this film compared to the first three films in terms of like maybe like the imagination part of it, or like just how terrifying some of them ended up being?
Um yeah, I'd say more imaginative, but stimulating.
Hmm.
You know, like it's just it's so they're so exhilarating and fun to watch, and you know, it's hard not to have fun when you can see how much fun Freddy's having in the
Yeah.
movie. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I really think 4 was the tippy top of the pyramid, or tippy top of the iceberg for the series. And everything was a little bit downhill after this for one reason or another, but, you know, it's impressive that each Elm Street film I think grossed more than the last. And then 4 was that the last one where I think 4 did like $50 million.
It's insane.
And it's funny when you people talk about, you know, Halloween 4 being the smash hit when it came back. Well, it was very successful, but it didn't even do half of what Elm Street 4 did.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, you mentioned that.
So it's just it's that's how big Freddy was at that point. There's literally no one could touch him. He was doing 2 to 1 what any other horror villain was doing.
Well, and it's interesting now because obviously there's been a lull with the franchise. There's not really any active we don't really have anything that's like currently active as of right now, but I can't help but wonder exactly he still has this staying power compared to Friday the 13th and Halloween, but um do you still feel like he carries that type of weight even now? Christian? Oh, okay. Um, well, in the meantime, we will just get back to the chat while we wait for Christian to hop back on. So let's see. All right. So JG, subscribe to your channel now. CHH brought me here. Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it. And then let's see. Oddly, I don't revisit Dream Warriors that much. More into watching 4 and 5. Yeah, I could totally see that. I think that there's some films that I feel like are ones I go back to more often than not, if anything. Ruben Rules in 3, she's my favorite. Yeah, she definitely stands out in that film. Had a chance to meet her a couple years back, and she was so nice in person. Oh, he's back.
Internet
Dude
live just
dude,
Melvin.
I can't tell if it's me or I thought you were just freezing on purpose just to fuck with me. No, just messing.
No, no, no. I
Yeah.
mean, literally, my internet. All that.
I think you're cutting out a little bit. I don't know if you can hear me. Christian, you still there? All right. In the meantime, so going back to this, JG. So I know we were talking about this earlier, but yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously Nancy getting killed off is a bold move. Um, I don't know if I was like quite upset about Rachel being taken out in 5. I mean, I don't know how much we could have really done with her character past that point. And I don't think we would have necessarily gotten the shine that Tina got in 5. So I like what they ended up doing. 5 isn't always my favorite to revisit, but oh, yeah. I don't know. Tina definitely has her moments. Yeah, I would agree with that. That's alternatively Nightmare on Elm Street 3's weakness. It's the most Hollywood Elm Street in some way. Yeah, I would say that between either that or with 4, um, I think once we get to the Dream Master, I mean, it feels very much infused with that MTV energy. At least that's the one that I always think of when you come back to these movies. 4 is probably my favorite sequel. Yeah, I'm excited to revisit it just to see what this looks like in 4K. Um, just got my 4K Steelbook set in here in the last couple days. Believe it was back on Wednesday, and excited to dive into it over the weekend. I want to take my time with going through each one of them. If you guys watching right now, feel free to drop in the comments which Nightmare on Elm Street sequel is your favorite. See if there's anything else I missed back in the chat. All right. Alexander, so my brother and I are talking while listening to you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. I know it's late tonight. Hold on one second. Hey.
Sorry, dude.
I know. Listen, I feel like we can't catch a break tonight. Okay, so I was just going through the chat. I think I missed a couple comments in there, but Alexander was mentioning curious on what scene in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise that gets under your skin the most. I feel like the weightlifting scene. I don't know. There's something about that one that like I think the look of it just like freaks me out.
I have a phobia of snakes, so kind of whenever Heather's in that weird doom temple at the end of New Nightmare,
Oh,
when all those big snakes are around her, like I have a fucking phobia of snakes.
yeah. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, it's definitely really unsettling, that's for sure.
So that might be it for me, to be honest with you.
Okay, so for the Dream Master, Alice is obviously one of the more stronger final girls in the series. What did you feel like made her different compared to like Nancy or Kristen?
I think they did a good job of letting her do all the whimsical things that the Dream Master had with, being able to, how should I say this? I think they did a really good balance of giving her personality traits that were relatable and
Hmm.
things that she had to overcome IRL, like getting over her crippling social anxiety and being afraid to talk to people and being withdrawn. And I think they did a great job of blending that with she had to kind of change her demeanor. She had to change her she had to change her personality to a certain extent to deal with Freddy. And I think that's a great way to. I thought they just did that really, really well. And I think that's why ultimately, I think that's why she's a fan favorite
I
of the
think she.
series.
Would you say that she probably has the most complete character arc in a lot of ways?
Probably, yeah. Um, I could also have an argument for Heather, to be honest
Hmm.
with you, too, because of the way New Nightmare plays out. And, you know, in a weird meta way, I love how, it's the girl who played the character in the first movie. And then, she comes back in 3 to help the kids because she went through it. And then in the new one, but in a linear sense, I would say, yeah, probably Alice. And she goes through a lot of shit with those 2 movies. I mean, by the next one, she's having a kid and everything. She's got to deal
Yeah.
with that. So they put 10 pounds of shit into a 5-pound bag with her, by her
Yeah.
being
Good way to put it.
you have to be introduced to her quick. You learn her personality where she's really withdrawn, scared to blah blah blah. She has to deal with death rapidly fast.
Yeah.
Along with then having to overcome her own insecurities to be able to,
And her personal life too.
yeah. So she has to go through a lot of shit fast.
Hmm.
So,
Do you ever wish we would have gotten more with her after 5?
um,
Like, would there have been more story to tell with her character? I guess is what I'm alluding to.
yeah, to a certain degree, I think, of course, you could, but I also like her 2 movies. And I
Hmm.
like the fact that when she dealt with Freddy in 5, she could then go on to raise her kid. It's like, okay, she's been through a lot. She went through 4 movies worth of stuff, in essence, in
Yeah,
2. So I don't mind the fact that she did 2 movies. But yeah, you definitely could. I mean, people liked her enough. You definitely could have done more with her
for sure.
in the same vein. So
And then, do you feel like in this film, the dreams still feel like extension of, I guess you would say real world fears, or are they like more pure fantasy now at this point?
fantasy, because it's like he took what they loved. He didn't take what they were afraid of. He kind of took the things that they liked as a way to kill them. The kid liked karate. Uh, uh, not Tuesday night, but her character's name. Kristen wanted to relax on the beach. She wanted to be somewhere comfortable. Freddie took her out there. So he kind of used the things they liked. The girl liked to weight lift, so he used that to kill her. So it's like he twisted all their fantasies,
Hmm.
which I think was again, it's a pretty fun, unique route to go, as opposed to putting them in their worst nightmares. He used what they like. He killed the smart girl in the classroom.
Hmm.
So it all, I
Yeah.
like about it.
Now, how do you feel like the film's visual style?
10 out of
It,
10.
10 out of 10. There you
Dude,
go.
I
That's
I
it.
mean I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
it's an absolutely gorgeous movie.
And did you feel like the Dream Master would have, well, I guess at the time would have been a huge video store hit? And how do you feel like it built on the franchise's popularity?
It was a fever pitch, I think. Excuse me. It was a fever pitch, and I think it probably did astronomical amounts of money on home video.
Yeah.
Astronomical. I probably couldn't even give you a number. I couldn't put it to a number. Just an inordinate amount of money.
Ben's got a question.
I love that scene. Yeah.
Yeah. What's up, Ben? All right. Moving right along. So we're taking it into the other part of Alice's journey with none other than the Dream Child, Nightmare on Elm Street 5. Freddy Krueger returns to terrorize the unborn child of Alice Johnson, using dreams to manipulate and kill the next generation before they're even born. Teenagers around Alice become Freddy's victims as he stalks them through increasingly surreal and nightmarish landscapes or dreamscapes, turning ordinary places into arenas of horror. So, with inventive kills, grotesque special effects, and a relentless sense of dread, the Dream Child continues Freddy's reign of terror, proving that even new life cannot escape the nightmare. Now, Freddy targets Alice's unborn child in this film. Do you feel like that raises the stakes and makes him feel more sinister than the previous films that we've seen him in?
No. But that doesn't mean that I don't enjoy the movie, because I enjoy 5 a lot. But honestly, 5 is a little confusing. It just kind of, I think 5 is incredibly ambitious.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And I actually think that I said this in my video today. I'd like to change the dialogue a little bit about 5, because I feel like I see people always saying, "We Child's Play 3's, it could be yeah, but the thing about Child's Play 3, you gotta remember that movie got made in like less than a year from 2."
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really hear people talk about Elm Street 5 in that regard. It's usually just like, "Oh, this movie's nowhere near as good as 4, blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Well,
Yeah.
and I said this, I said, "Listen, I mean no disrespect, but making an Elm Street film has to be astronomically more difficult than making a Child's Play film."
Well,
And they
especially at
did
the
that in the
time
same
too,
Yeah, and they did that in the same turnaround. I think Elm Street 5 is the best out of the big 3 slashers of that year, with Halloween and Friday. I do. I think the effects, like I said, I think one of the greatest special effects sequences of all time is Dan. The motorcycle scene.
Crazy.
It's phenomenal.
Oh, okay, because I haven't gotten there yet, obviously, but what was it like not only seeing that in 4K, but then did they end up restoring the
Little snippets, yeah. I mean,
okay.
basically what happens is there are wires and cables that go into his arms and back of his calves, and they cut from the wires driving up the muscle, because it's very painful.
Yeah.
It's very, very painful to look at. So they restored that. They had it on VHS and Laserdisc, which I have the Laserdisc and VHS now. But, when the DVDs came out, they just used theatrical prints, which they honestly never should have done that. It's not like they had to. They just
That's
did
true.
it for stupid reasons. Oversight. So, it's great that we have it back as uncut. Which was my number one thing, because I always tell people, you watch that scene uncut, I swear you'll go up a half a star or a star on that movie.
I know,
because it's so good that you can't disqualify it. It's that good of a sequence.
That's the one that I'm most excited to see. Just in I feel like the format that we're supposed to see this in. So that one's definitely like probably top out of the entire box set that I'm excited to dive into. And I guess playing off of like what we were talking about, do you feel like which dream sequence or kill do you think is the most grotesque or terrifying in part 5? Do you feel like it's
motorcycle,
okay.
hands down.
Okay. Now what about the practical effects? How do you feel like that they compare to the earlier sequels?
Different.
Good or bad?
Not bad.
Mm,
I
okay.
wouldn't say better, but I also wouldn't say worse. Very different. They did a lot of different types of effects. Optical. They did stop motion. They did different. It's the effects in 5 are just very different from 4. They do a lot of. I mean, like when I think about an example of what I'm talking about, you have to look at the comic book sequence where the kid falls asleep and he's in a
Oh.
black and white world. I mean, that's all animation,
Mm-hmm.
optical, and like nothing like that was done in 4. 4 was completely build it, run hoses and wires through it, move it.
Mm-hmm.
In this movie, it was layering on top of the film and old school techniques, quite frankly. But that's why I say different, not worse, just different, but not better either. Because I think, like I said, I think 4 is, 4 and 3 effects wise are the best of all time. But
I would agree.
in 5, the motorcycle sequence I think is as good as anything from 3 or 4. Not better, but as good. But I think the way you have to take into consideration that the whole effect is with the illusion that the guy's driving 100 miles an hour on a motorcycle, and this is all happening extremely fast, and it's painful, and it's like the fact that he turns into you know what it looks like? It looks like Dan got into one of those warping pods in The Fly with a
Oh.
motorcycle. And when
Yeah.
they came out the other side and they merged, the cells merged. That's what it looks like.
Oof. And it
You
leans
know,
pretty heavily into like the body horror, especially with that sequence.
for sure.
Now, are there kills maybe outside of the motorcycle kill with Dan? Are there any kills that feel especially shocking because of their combination of like gore and psychological like terror?
Maybe not shocking. I'd say crude is the word to go with. Like, if you look at Greta, where he's
Oh,
just feeding her and feeding her, and in that, in this movie, and on the 4K, I'm sure you at least know about it. I don't know, maybe you've YouTubed it, the footage.
mhm.
But I mean, obviously, it's just crude and mean. The humor is darker in 5. Um,
Very twisted.
Twisted, and it.
Mhm.
What's weird about 5? I always get like this Tim Burton vibe from it.
I could
Like,
see that.
like I get this weird little bit like of a Tim Burton, like because like while that whole scene's going on at the dinner table, the mom's just like, you can't be rude and not like and, like the way they have these weird, you know,
Like mannerisms.
Man, yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
I get a little bit of a Tim Burton-esque feeling from 5, and that's not a negative, but
Well, it's very much of the time, I mean, I wouldn't be completely surprised if they were potentially taking influence from the movies he was coming out with.
maybe, yeah. But yeah, I would say crude is the word to describe the kills in 5. They're just more crude. Like Freddy's a little bit darker than 4, you know. Like he doesn't want to screw up again. He didn't succeed in stopping Alice the first time. Now he wants to enjoy himself, but he also, you know, I don't know. It's just like it's a slightly darker shade of gray than 4.
Okay. So, speaking of which, obviously Freddy has like an escalation in part 5, whether it's physically and psychologically. Do you think like the tone of the movie, the type of kills that take place in this film, do you feel like it changes the way that we fear him?
No, I don't think so. Not necessarily fear him, but it's just a different, it's in a certain way, it's like the next flavor of Mountain Dew that just came out from last year, It's just it's Mountain Dew,
Mhm.
but last year was whatever it was, uh whatever kind of it's like the yearly version of the voodoo, you know. That's the way I look at it. Not necessarily fearing, but because people, I think at that point, they were just excited. They wanted to see him. They were probably cheering him in the movies, quite frankly. They wanted to see what Freddy was going to do. So that's the way I look at it, is like, what's he going to do this time? And what genre is this one going to feel like? Is this
Yeah.
one going to be a little bit more hip hop? Is this one going to be a little bit more grungy? Is it going to be more metal? Like, what's it going to be like? So.
And how effectively do you feel like the film keeps the audience guessing about what's real versus dream?
That's kind of the problem, because part 5, it's like it's kind of confusing.
Yeah.
It's like with so Alice dreams through the kid, because the kid inside is sleeping all the time, and so the baby can have the dreams. Like, it's kind of loosey goosey, and that was a script that was offered a couple years ago, and they
Mhm.
passed on it, and so went back to it. And they're like, yeah, let's just do this one now. I kind of like this one now. So it's not.
It feels like it
It's
could be a little bit more refined,
It
you know?
could, but it's also not worth hemming and hawing about either, if that makes sense. Like, it's like, I'm not going to dismiss the film because of that. I can look past it, because I think the film is extremely entertaining. So, but that's why, I definitely feel like it's just a little like, so how does this work exactly?
Yeah.
I feel like that's how
I
the audience looks at it.
I remember, like, going through and binging these, like, way back when. I always remember getting to this one, and I'm, like, trying to piece everything together, and I'm, like, trying to follow the rules for everything. Like, parts of this can get a little confusing as much as I love the movie. Um, and then lastly, compared to the earlier sequels, do you feel like The Dream Child feels more terrifying, or is it more imaginative than scary for this one?
Imaginative,
Okay. Okay.
imaginative for sure.
Well, we start kind of winding things down in the franchise, and that brings us to none other than Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare.
There we go. I had a great time watching this one today.
Was this one, when, out of the entire franchise, was this a movie that you, like, really enjoyed on that initial watch, like, way back when? Or I feel like that this one has, I don't know, it's tough. I feel like that this one is the one I used to come back to least, and it's grown on me a little bit more as time has gone on.
So I'll never forget. To answer the question, I always liked it, but it was not my favorite. But it's in an interesting time in the early '90s, because I always look at slashers as hair metal.
Mhm.
You know, they wound down by '92. Hair metal did. There are still some big records that came out, like Adrenalize from Def Leppard, stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
But my point is, you know, the timelines are kind of similar with slasher films and hair metal, when they had their biggest highs and when the lows started kicking in. So Freddy's Dead kind of came in while things had really already started to kind of wind down. I think the fatigue really set in by '89 in a certain extent. If you just look at the box office doesn't really lie. It'll tell you everything you need to know. But
Mhm.
I feel like there's an aesthetic to Freddy's Dead that is so unique that you can't mistake it. If you see a single frame of it, you instantly can tell that's Freddy's Dead. And I'll never forget watching Never Sleep Again, and Rachel Talalay was talking about Twin Peaks being a huge influence on
Love
it.
that show.
And I remember listening to her say that, and I was like, that's interesting. Well, I watched the documentary back in 2014, 12, whenever it was when it came out, probably a year after it came out. And then, sure enough, I remember maybe back in 2017, I actually watched Twin Peaks,
Hmm.
and I haven't been able to watch Freddy's Dead the same again. I get it.
That's interesting.
There's such a quirky, bizarro feeling to it with certain scenes that the two sequences in particular that really remind me of David Lynch is absolutely the circus scene where they go to see Roseanne and Tom Arnold.
Hmm.
And also the way they shot the scene where Lisa Zane is a little girl in the backyard with Freddie and the mom,
Oh, yep.
because it's shot in such this beautiful, serene looking backyard, and it's so anti-scary, but the juxtaposition of Robert's performance and you knowing that he was doing all those bad things to the kids, it reminded me so much of Twin Peaks, or it reminded me of David Lynch. I feel it. I get it. Now you can't really replicate David Lynch,
No.
but they tried, and I definitely see it. So I actually love Freddy's Dead more now after seeing what they were doing, because you can people can say they don't like Freddy's Dead because they're this or that, but you can't say that Freddy's Dead is an aimless film that didn't know what it was going for. It has a clear direction of what style and feel it was going for. It's not an aimless film whatsoever. I don't think it necessarily lands perfectly. I actually think the ending to all 5 movies before it are better endings
Hmm.
than this, quite
I would agree.
frankly. But it's not an aimless film. I just don't think it hits the bullseye for enough people.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask you. Do you feel like it's almost an impossible task to have the perfect conclusion to such a powerful and iconic franchise in horror? I mean, I feel like it had by this point it had been built up for so long. I mean, you take New Nightmare out of the equation.
Well, where do you? I mean, the thing I think about is where do you go? So you look at the series. You're at a pretty you're at a pretty dark level at 1. You go even darker for 2.
Hmm.
Go up a couple notches for 3. Go up a little bit more for 4. You're at a lighter shade of gray. They bump it back down 2 notches darker for 5, and you're gonna end it. What do you do? Do you go dark, dark, dark again? Or do you go over the top? I really don't know which way is the right answer.
Tough.
But I know that Freddy's Dead was massively successful. It made 30 something million dollars in 1991. So the movie was extremely successful. I think it over performed what they thought it would do. I think it made 38 million or something. It made a lot of money. So reception is one thing, but they already got their money from the people. So
Yeah, true.
at the end of the day, that's really all that matters. But I like Freddy's Dead. I don't think you can say it's a boring film. I just think people don't like the tone of it. It's too light of a shade of gray, I think. But I
That's
do think if
interesting.
you do watch the Twin Peaks and you see the way they tried to film some of those scenes, um, you can see what they were going for. So
Did you
yeah,
get
it
through
does
all?
change your opinion. It changed my opinion of it. I actually quite enjoy the tone of the movie now.
I'm excited to go back and watch this one because it's been quite some time. But did you get through all of Twin Peaks when you were watching it?
Yes.
Oh man, yeah, it's. I'd probably put that up there as probably one of my favorite shows of all time. Um, So with the final nightmare, or well, Freddy's dead. Freddy Krueger returns to Springwood one last time, targeting the remaining survivors and a new generation of teens. His victims are pulled into increasingly twisted and grotesque dreamscapes, where everyday environments become arenas of terror. As Freddy's powers reach new extremes, his kills grow more inventive, nightmarish, and sadistic, blending body horror with surreal imagery. The film follows the final confrontation between Freddy and a young heroine who uncovers the secrets of his origin, delivering a relentless series of dream world horrors that mark the end of his original reign of terror. So, how do you feel like Maggie's connection to Freddy's past drives the story, and does it give the film more emotional weight than previous entries?
No, it really doesn't.
I'm trying to
I
dig deep on this one.
I don't mind. I just look at Freddy's Dead as pomp and circumstance to a certain extent. They had to somehow connect some mythology to it. I get it. And they repurposed it again for Jason a few years later.
Yeah.
You know, like I almost think they should have done like a Psycho 4 for Freddy's Dead in a sense. Somewhat of a prequel, half a movie, because I think Psycho 4 is a great example of that. And they kind of hinted a little bit on that. They do show you Freddy's childhood briefly in this
Mhm.
movie. But I think if they would have leaned it more into like a 60-40, like they did for Psycho 4, and made that the movie, that could have worked too,
I agree.
you know? And maybe it wouldn't have either. So, but I don't think it adds anything. I just think they tried. But I like Yaphet Kotto. He's a really good actor. He's good in the movie. I like him because he kind of grounds everything to a certain degree. I like Carlos. The three kids are cool. It's Lisa Zane is the kind of like the psychologist, whatever she is in the movie. She deals with the kids. You got Carlos, he's kind of like the Spanish kid. He's got real cool style. I like him. Then you got the guy from Rat Race. I forget his name. He has this horrible ponytail in the movie. Like his hair's
Yeah.
kind of like sitting, but then in the back he's got like a. It's like, dude, put all your hair in the ponytail.
Yeah,
Like, what are you
right.
doing? Breckenmeyer is the actor's name. But I like the cast in this movie. Robert's having a blast. It's so hard not to enjoy him on screen because you could tell he's having such a good time. So I think this movie is just pomp and circumstance. And I actually don't think it takes itself that seriously. Like they're certainly trying to add backstory and all that, but it's just means to an end, in my
Mhm.
opinion. You know,
Now, were there certain dream sequences or kills that stand out as being, like either effective or scary with this film? Or do you have any favorites?
Carlos with the dropping the pins when he gave him like that mega ear
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, that was great.
Oh,
And it was funny.
yeah.
And whenever he's trying to open up the map, you know, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Some of them are just a little too hokey, like Breckenmeyer with the video game. It starts out really fun, but then once you see him like bouncing up the stairs and stuff, it kind of, I'll be honest, it kind of drags on just a little bit. But like I said, they're going for it. They're going over the top. They wanted to just be fun
Yeah.
in that movie. So
And you can tell Robert Englund. I mean, I think by this point he is so dialed in as his character. And like you were saying, I really do feel like when last time I watched it, at least, it seems like this one he's just having a blast with
as I
the
say,
performance.
it's hard not to enjoy it watching it because he is having fun. Robert's having a blast. And he also, I've never really heard Robert say anything bad about this movie either because
Mm,
I think Robert probably liked the fact that he got to do a lot outside of the makeup in this one too, as well as 5. He got to do some out of the makeup stuff in 5. So, and 4, but more so in 5, a little bit more in 5 and a lot more in this one. I mean, we even get Robert in the Freddy outfit without all the stuff
yeah.
at the end where he's like, so I think Robert's never bad. There's no Elm Street film where Robert's not fantastic. Every movie, he's always fantastic. Every single one.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. So you were touching on this a little bit with, Freddie, with his origins and everything. But how effective do you feel like the film is with balancing multiple storylines? So, Maggie's origin, Freddie's victims, and the survivors, obviously from past films.
again, it's just like I really feel like they didn't harp. I really feel like the characters in this one, like we don't really know much about Carlos. We don't. We don't know shit about Brecken's character. Apparently, the only comment we really know is that the girl, I forget the actress's name, she makes a joke about him being a rich kid. And then the John Doe character, who can't, he's like the last Elm Street kid or whatever it is.
Mhm.
You know, he just kind of, he's the last Elm Street kid. So like that's what I said. It's kind of like they're, you know, we're just filling everything out, and Lisa Zane's the daughter.
Yeah.
And I feel like they tried to make it seem like for a minute the John Doe was like going to be like Freddy's kid, and obviously it wasn't. So, but like I said, I really feel like they knew we got to just make this a spectacle. We can't really try to rivet people with this incredible story. That's the way I read it anyway. I could be off by what Rachel might think about it or whatever the intention was. But that's
Mhm.
the way I feel about it. I don't feel like it takes itself that seriously to try to captivate the audience with story. It's more so just like, all right, well, let's make this. How can we make this scene super fun for the audience?
Well, speaking of which, I mean, how do you feel like the film handles Freddy's backstory? I mean, did you feel like it added depth to his character or complicate what the series has set up?
No, I think it actually did an okay job. You know, you get to see the mom realizing uh what Freddie was doing, Freddie was up to, and the girl, you know, the daughter, kind of, you know, she gets a hint of it, but she represses all of that and stuff. I actually like those scenes. I like those scenes of with Robert back in the day because he came across as really creepy, but still a little bit, you know, funny in that
Mhm.
quirky David Lynchian kind of. Like I said, you really can see the Twin Peaks influence.
Oh, for sure.
So, um, I like those scenes. I actually think that's some of the better stuff.
And then which guest appearances or cameos were the most memorable for you?
Oh, come on. It's Alice.
Yeah.
It's Alice, and, you know,
I
I was
figured
laughing
I
when
didn't want to assume anything, but I kind of figured that that probably would be who it was.
no, it was a funny scene to watch when he, he's just whipping his kid, and, you don't really get to see Alice get killed. You know, I thought you did, but you really don't. But, you know, that's cool, and, you wanna guess who my second favorite is?
Is it Roseanne?
It's absolutely
Yeah.
Roseanne.
I
Absolutely,
know you've got
Roseanne and Tom
affinity for
Arnold.
the TV series, right?
I do, I do. I love Roseanne. I think it's the greatest sitcom of all time. Um, alongside Frasier, which maybe people be surprised to hear that,
Oh,
but I love Frasier.
okay. I respect that.
I'm listening. Um,
Yeah.
but no, I love that scene. And again, I feel the David Lynch and the David Lynchian. It's so over the top. Like she's pinching the kid's cheeks, and like she got it. Like she
Mhm.
got it. And Tom Arnold's funny too. I love Tom Arnold. I feel like nobody talks about Tom Arnold at all anymore. It's like
No,
people
they really don't.
I don't even think people know who he is. But I love Tom Arnold. Like he had some like he was in some big stuff back in the day. There's a Donahue episode that is hysterical about Tom Arnold. Tom Arnold's on the Phil Donahue show where like he had reached out to Peter Criss because people thought Peter Criss was homeless living on the street at the time. And it was just a guy that kind of looked like him, and the paper ran with it. And so, you know,
Yeah,
Peter Criss went on the Donahue show with Tom Arnold. But anyway, I mean, that's just something I love
that's
going back and
incredible.
watching that every now and again. But yeah, Roseanne, Tom Arnold, and Alice, and I like the Johnny Depp stuff too.
I was gonna ask about that because it's obviously, feels like everything comes full circle, especially with that cameo, to have him come back and all
Oh
these
yeah,
years later, you know?
oh yeah.
Um, Now, do you feel like the film's ending provides a satisfying conclusion to the Elm Street franchise, or did it leave you kind of desiring a little bit more?
No, it left me desiring more. It's fine in the context of the movie, but I actually think that 4 and 5's endings are just like 4, people call it like it's like the religious ending or whatever, like
Hmm.
with the mirrors. And I actually like 5's ending with the mom
Same.
locking them in there. So I just think both of those endings are a little bit more definitive, but it is what it is, man. Like at
Yeah.
that point they were doing the 3D gimmick. So which I won't spoil how the 3D is on. You can cross that bridge when you get there.
I can hardly wait.
You know.
um, and then looking back, how do you feel like Freddy's Dead fits into the legacy of the Elm Street series as a whole? As a conclusion, as like an individual entry, or did you feel like it was like bigger than that?
How do I feel it? How do I feel? Does it do as being a conclusive entry?
Yeah.
I'm okay with it, to be honest with you. I really am, because I what I like about Freddy's Dead is it doesn't pitter out like other franchises may feel like. You know, it's funny because like even though Jason Takes Manhattan was the most expensive one to make, I don't think people would say it feels like the most. They probably feel like watching 6 and 7 feel
Hmm.
like bigger, better made movies. Even though I love Jason Takes Manhattan.
Yeah.
But
Of
you
course.
can't. But I don't think anybody can turn on Freddy's Dead and feel like they're watching a movie that's pittered out with money and interest. Like it was, I think it was one of the more expensive Elm Streets to make. The movie looks really big and
Hmm.
expensive. The movie doesn't look cheap at all. It feels like a big movie. So in that sense, I'm happy with it.
Very nice. Well, we are gonna cap it off with none other than Wes Craven's New Nightmare, the return of Freddy Krueger. Um, where are you at on this one? Is this one you come back to a lot?
No, but I'm starting to really come around on it. There's actually stuff in this movie that I think is some of the best stuff since 3 or 4, maybe even 2, to be honest with you. My biggest complaint was, although I think undeniably this is her best performance. I also feel like the movie first half is a little slow.
Yeah, I could see that.
And with that being said, in that first half, there are some moments that I think are incredible. First off, I think the makeup for Robert is underrated when he shows up on the TV show. I think that's a great look.
Oh yeah.
It's like a mix between 4 and 5.
Yeah.
Um, and I also feel like the funeral scene for the dad is some of the scariest stuff we had seen, because like the casket kind of falls and then the kid gets dragged under the ground from Fred. It's actually visually that's great shit.
Yeah.
It's actually quite freaky. So there are moments in that one that I when I watch it back, I'm like, God damn, that's good. That's good shit. So I'm starting to really come around on it, and I do think it is probably the most polished, well done, made movie out of all those slashers from the 90s. My personal
Ooh, okay.
favorite, the one I enjoy watching the most is Curse of Michael Myers, just because I love how that movie somehow exists in a time where it really shouldn't. You
Oh no,
know,
not at all.
it's like
Yeah.
we got that movie literally in the heartbeat before the whole genre got changed and the
Hmm.
style changed with Scream. But I love watching that movie. The vibe of it is amazing. But I think if like again, which one would I be completely unembarrassed to have on if people were coming in the house? New Nightmare, hands down.
Oh, it's
Like,
incredible.
I wouldn't be embarrassed if anybody came in on me watching it. If I was watching Jason Goes to Hell and I got, people coming over and I don't know them that well, I'd be like, "Oh, maybe I'll put on another one."
Yeah.
Or Freddy's dead, maybe they'll kinda laugh and say, "Why are you watching this? It's not even scary." And, like, I could think of that, but, like, New Nightmare, I'd be like, "Oh, yeah, I wouldn't be ashamed or embarrassed to have that on if anybody walked in the room." So, that's kind of like my barometer when I think about things like that.
Well, and it's just so fascinating, especially with this one. Like you go back and you have a different level of appreciation for this one because in a lot of ways it does feel like the prototype for what we would get with Scream. You know,
Right.
um, with New Nightmare in a meta twist on the Elm Street series, Freddy Krueger escapes the confines of film and begins haunting the real world, targeting the actors and crew who brought him to life. Heather Langenkamp, playing a version of herself, must confront the embodiment of evil as it invades reality, blurring the lines between fiction and nightmare. With surreal dream sequences, escalating tension, and psychological horror at its core, New Nightmare reinvents Freddy as a true malevolent force, reminding audiences that some nightmares are impossible to escape. Um, how do you think that making Freddy real in the film's universe changes the stakes and increases the level of horror that we get with this film? You feel like it works?
Yeah, because I feel like, you gotta throw away everything. You don't know this character.
Mhm.
There's really no reference point, and they did a smart thing by changing the design. I think you had to, because if they still made him look the same, I think it would give the audience a sense of, "Oh, hey, there he is. Let's see what he's gonna do."
Yeah.
But in this one, it's like, that's not that's not really Freddy, though. So, I mean, it was done I think the correct way, you
Did
know?
you like his look? Because I think he's, like, really scary in this movie, if I'm being completely honest.
I do like it. I do like it quite a bit. I like the, I like every I like the everything about it with the different kind of wardrobe, and
Mhm.
Freddy seems more bulky in this one.
Yep. The
And
claw's different.
yeah, I do like it quite a bit, actually.
Feels more sinister. Um, Now, were there certain dream sequences or I guess you could say supernatural moments that you felt like were terrifying?
Definitely that, like I said, that funeral sequence where the body kind of falls down and the kid slips in there, and then Freddy kind of, you see him come out and grab the kid. That
Yeah.
shit's freaky. And probably the end of the movie when they go into like that hell world that he was living in with the giant demon heads and the snakes and everything. That freaked me out. I guess I have a phobia of snakes.
Yeah.
Um the things I don't like about this is when they do the greatest hits, you know, when they redo the spinning room thing where the girl's on the roof of the room or on the ceiling getting drugged like from the first movie. Like, I that's kind of like what I like the least about it is the greatest hits. I wish they would have just done everything complete. If it's a different Freddy, do everything different.
Yeah. I would agree with that and, just kinda have the kill sequences stand out on their own rather than try to replicate something that, obviously the first one's known for.
Right.
Um, Now, are the scares more effective because they feel, I guess you could say, more plausible within the real world context?
I'm actually going to reiterate what I said about two. I think Heather does almost maybe even as good a job as Mark as really feeling like, you know, this is real shit. Like,
Mhm.
this is scary shit. Like I said, I genuinely think Heather is the best in this movie. So that, along with, throwing not the rule book, but throwing the playbook out the window to a certain extent with Freddie, and the way him to look, and the way his demeanor is changing, kind of just it's almost like a reset button, a hard reset in a way. And I think the tone of the movie was done pretty, and the tone is pretty serious too. So, um, what can I say? I definitely think if you look at the 90s, I could argue that this movie is his best movie of the decade, even over Scream to a certain extent, because
Oh,
I mean
interesting.
it is pretty. I mean, just the innovation of it. I got to give Williamson more credit for Scream since he wrote it. But I mean, this movie was all Wes. It
Yeah,
was all Wes. So
there's something about this one that um I don't know what it is. It just feels like it takes it that step further, kind of what you were talking about with Freddy's Revenge, is that, no one's safe. In the
right,
confines of this one, it's like the line between reality and fiction is that line is becoming increasingly, like less blurred, so um and then we had a good question in the chat from JG. I just wanted to spotlight this real quick, but he was asking, do you consider Wes Craven's New Nightmare separate from the Elm Street movies, since it's not actually Freddy, but an ancient entity taking his form?
it's not something I would argue with people about if they say, well, it's not really part of the series. I'd be like, I'm kind of like John Carpenter in the way that I think. Like I'm just so bottom line.
Yeah,
Like, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, it's the seventh one. It's the seventh Elm Street film. But at the same point, like I get it. If people tell me like it's really not the seventh one, I'm like, okay, you're right.
yeah,
But that's just the way I think. That's my own fault, probably to a certain extent, is that I'm I could go either way. Like I get it if people don't, you know what I'm saying? But
for
like
sure.
I'm just very practical
Yeah.
in the sense that like, they killed him. So they got to start over.
I honestly, I think just it feels like more of, yeah, I get that it's not in the canon of the story. I feel like, or like just the whole franchise. This one, I feel like, well, okay, with Frey's dead, that's more your definitive ending. But this, I always like that you start with Wes Craven doing the original, and then you get this at the very end, and it feels like, okay, that's it. Like this franchise, like within those confines, I'm good with that. It, if this exists outside of the canon itself, I'm totally fine with it.
Yeah.
Um, and then we've got Captain Rhodes.
Oh, what's up, dude? That dude's funny. He's
We've got
always dropping
him,
funny comments in Planet Dirty shows.
Go Dog 706 joining us. So I appreciate you guys. I know it's getting late now. We're just about there, but the core of the horror in New Nightmare, I think, is the fear that comes from being stalked and never feeling safe. I think that that's like an interesting angle to it, because it definitely dials up the stalker aspect, especially in the beginning, and that looming threat that Heather has as the movie goes on. So I would have to agree with that. Um, let's see. So how do you feel like Freddy's portrayal in New Nightmare differs from earlier films in terms of, I guess you could say, like menace or his unpredictability? Did you like it?
I wouldn't know what word to throw on it, but yeah, absolutely, I like it.
He feels more evil.
It just goes to show how good Robert is.
Yeah.
He knew he had to. It's different, but it's not too. It's like it's still a Marshall amp, but the reverb, the bass, the treble are adjusted for a different tone. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? Like it's
Yep.
still a Marshall amp, but I don't know if you're a musician, but I'm sure you understand what I'm saying.
Oh yeah. Yep.
You know exactly what I'm saying. So like that's the beauty of Robert. He's able to change the mix of what this Freddy would be to where it feels different, but also, it's recognizable. So, and I actually think that that's probably more difficult than just like having to do it totally different. Like
Yeah.
change it, you got to change it 15%, not 100%, but just do 15% where it's definitely noticeable, but there's still the DNA of what this thing would be like from in a Freddy point of view. So I actually think, yeah, that's probably more tough than people give it credit for.
And then how would you say New Nightmare explores the fear of invasion that, essentially terror can follow you off the screen and into your life? You like that angle of New Nightmare?
I do. I think it's just ridiculous enough to work,
Yeah.
right? Like they have to make another movie to lock him into the vault. Like it sounds ridiculous, but in the movie, like I buy it. Like I just do. Like by not making the movies, we're not containing him. It's almost the opposite it's like the opposite of keeping Freddy out of your dreams. Don't think about him. Don't give him your powers. Don't give him the powers. Don't give him your fear. But on the other side of the coin, we have to make the movie. We have to keep him prevalent. Otherwise, he will eventually break the chain from his connection to the films, and that being will it's ridiculous in and of its nature. It is. It's not even plausibly ridiculous. It's just flat out ridiculous. But I buy it and I
Yeah.
like it and I get it. You know.
It's one of when you look at the 90s, and it was a change in landscape at that point, but I definitely have to say New Nightmare is I feel like it's one of the high points of what we got during that decade for sure. And it was just very
Yeah,
innovative.
and interestingly enough, I think did it underperformed. I know that the movie underperformed big time. They were expecting it to be a huge hit, which a lot of people don't realize this, and I didn't realize this. So I'm not saying it like I'm in the know, but I was reading that book, Slash of the Titans.
Mhm.
The only reason those movies happened was because they were like, holy shit, Freddy's Dead made a ton of money. Maybe these movies aren't really dead after all. So maybe we shouldn't make Freddy versus Jason right away. We just bought the character. Why don't we just do a Jason movie for now? Okay, that was successful. So let's do Freddy again somehow. Well, what are we going to do? We killed him. Okay, well, let's see what Wes can do. So, you know, that's the reason that a movie like that happened. And it's weird because when I read in the book that the movie didn't really make that much money and people weren't really into it, they just didn't go see it.
Well,
And the
it
title's kind of weird too. It's not really a great title.
New Nightmare?
It's not a bad title, but it's not a great title.
Well, it feels like the start to something else. And then, you just get this and then Freddy versus Jason, which has nothing to do with this film. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I just don't and
I agree.
I'm not saying that there's a perfect title for this movie because I really don't think there is, but I'm sure if you said that out loud at that point, there'd be a lot of people who say like, "Well, what is that?" Like they wouldn't associate it immediately with Freddy for some.
No.
I don't know what you would call it.
Unless you're more in the know or you're like,
Yeah,
active.
you'd have to be interested and watch the trailers, and so I don't know, but it's thank God it came out when it did because they do stamp periods of time that are so interesting in horror. They really are, and it's really cool how you know people could say what they want. The two Nightmare films that came out in the 90s were not cheaply, made movies. They were big made movies. Like if you
Mhm.
look at, you know, you look at Jason Goes to Hell, which was modest. It wasn't. It was Jason Goes to Hell. I love it, but you compare that
Same.
and you take that and Curse of Michael Myers, and you compare them to the production value of Freddy's Dead and New Nightmare. The Nightmare films still feel like juggernaut big movies
For sure.
comparatively. So, you know,
Yeah, it's now that you've been talking about it, my wife and we've been actually going through. We watched Halloween 4, 5, and then Curse of Michael Myers is up next. So I'll
I
be
love Curse. I have so much fun watching Curse.
oh man. I'm pumped for that. And last but not least, how does New Nightmare's concept of Freddy escaping the movie anticipate the self-aware meta horror of Scream?
Ask me that question. I think I understand what you're asking me, but ask me that again. Like, what do you you're ask? How does New Nightmare?
Like set it, I guess, like setting it up for what we get with Scream eventually.
The reality is, had based off of what Kevin Williams said has stated, I don't know that this movie had any impact on it. I mean, if I'm being honest,
Yeah.
based on what Williamson has said, he wanted to make a movie. He was watching some documentary about one of the serial killers,
Mm-hmm.
and he needed to write a script, and not once did I ever hear him mention doing something meta like New Nightmare. It's one of those things where there's always somebody who probably did it before you and you don't realize it. Who knows if Williamson had even seen New Nightmare,
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
true.
But it's one of those things where you're never really the first to do something. You think you are, and you might get the credit for it. And I'm not saying Williamson is saying he did that either, but it's pretty evident, when you look at, you know, a lot of New Nightmare may be the first movie to do meta like that, but I wouldn't be surprised if somebody's like, no, actually, there's another series that, you know, there was another movie that did something that, was in the vein of, so I don't know that I could actually give you a true definitive answer to that. I mean, but maybe, yeah, I don't know. I don't really know if New Nightmare had that much bearing on Screams happening at all. So
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see where obviously the direction of this franchise went, and it makes me wonder if this movie had been maybe more successful, where would they have gone? Because it feels like it's a very self-contained story for New Nightmare. If this movie was wildly successful, I mean, I can't really, I don't know if I could really map out like a direction where you can go from that point forward.
maybe something else would have came along afterwards, but you know, that's one of those $1,000,000 questions. What if there hadn't been a New Nightmare? What if there hadn't been Scream? Who knows, dude?
Hmm.
Maybe the remake craze would have kicked in 5 years earlier,
Oh
and
God.
than it did.
Maybe for better or worse.
Who just
Yeah.
but Scream is clearly the I don't even know what the word is I'm looking for. You know, there was horror before it and then horror after it.
Well,
It's
definitive.
that simple.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how big the series is now. I feel like, you know, when I got into horror in 2009, 8, 9, it was still Halloween.
Hmm.
That was the movie. And then I go to Texas Frightmare years later, 2017, 18, 19. And the lines for Scream, mind you, I had seen some of the Scream. Well, I think I remember seeing Skeet back in like 2012, and he had
Yeah.
a line. Don't get me wrong, but then I go to Texas Frightmare in like 2019, and when I get to the venue, there's people like outside of the building, much less
Hmm.
the ballrooms in the convention center,
Yeah.
in the hotel. And I'm like, what is that? And I was like, is this a line to get in? And somebody's like, no, that's like over there. You can go over there. But I was like, oh, thank God. I was like, well, what is that? Oh, that's Nev Campbell. I'm like,
Hmm.
she's outside the fucking building. And then I was thinking to myself, this is insane. Then I kind of looked at the line, and it was 90% 17, 18, 19, 20 year olds, like the next generation, whatever it's called,
Yeah.
what do you call it? We're
Oh shit.
Gen Y, we're millennials, so Gen Z, where I guess it's Gen Z. But yeah, now like the next generation, they have latched on to Scream. It feels like is the next big. So my question is, what's going to be the next movie that has that?
Oh
Where
man.
I think it's going to be Saw, personally.
Oh, I could see that. Yeah, absolutely.
Mathematically, that makes sense, but also maybe I'm totally off. It may not be Saw. It could be fucking. I don't know.
Because I don't think it would be something like Final Destination or, you know, it's just that's the only like Paranormal Activity. I mean, do they have the same
Nah.
level of impact? You know what I mean?
To me, in my life, they do, but I don't know. Maybe it'll revert and it'll go back to Halloween again. I don't know.
I mean, I
But it
never.
is interesting, man. It really is interesting how Scream has it's it's got the younger late teens, early 20s people. It's got them big time. Whether they're arguing online or just watching the movies, they're talking about it. At the end of the day, they're talking, and let them argue, let them talk. Everybody's got their opinion, whether it has to do with the politics of, the actors speaking out about, you know, Israel and all that or not, or whatever. It's like, man, millions of people are talking about those movies on a
Mhm.
daily basis, and it's amazing, quite frankly. I feel like it's bigger today than any time when I was aware of the fandom of the films.
Oh, for
So,
Scream?
for Scream.
Oh, yeah, 100%. When the times that because I had a chance to meet Nev, Matthew Lillard, David Arquette, Jamie Kennedy, the lines were just, especially for Nev and Matthew Lillard and David Arquette, were just insane. Like
Matt Yeah,
it's, I don't know.
Matthew
It's,
Lillard has kind of, like, established himself as, like, somebody you have to meet at a convention because of how
oh, he's
nice he
awesome.
is, you know?
I'll never forget that experience because, every time you're waiting in line, I mean, you're there for like, especially with David Arquette, you're there for a long time. And I remember for Matthew Lillard, like I came up to him and I was like, "Do you mind if I just give you a hug?" And he was like, "Let's hug it out, man." I was like, "What a like
He's
what a
I
world is this?"
I'm not saying he's acting,
Yeah.
but he knows how to, let's just say, he's a very smart guy,
Yeah.
because he knows you catch more flies with honey. And I really think that, you know, he knows how to make people, if they're on the fence of like, who should I go meet at a convention?
Oh, for
Oh, I
sure.
know, Matthew's gonna make me feel
He's more
appreciated,
approachable because
you know.
you get some I mean,
So he's not an idiot. He's a very smart guy.
for sure. For
And
sure.
he's good on him, because, if people are giving you money to meet you, treat him with dignity, treat him with
Mhm.
respect. And I have gotten the no eye contact from people. And
Oh, I have too.
and
It's
the irony is, some of the people that I had it from weren't people that I thought would. And some of the people that I heard bad things about, I was treated like royalty. I think I've had the best Tom Savini experience out of anybody that's ever met him. Who knows? Maybe he just liked me. But I loved him. He gave me a hug, you know.
oh man.
I loved Tom.
I didn't have I definitely didn't have a bad experience. He was at my first convention that I went to, and I didn't I mean, I think I was just so nervous meeting him. He's a legend, right? But um yeah, I don't have anything bad to say about him. He just wasn't as talkative as maybe I was thinking he would be, but
I mean, he's got a bad reputation. He just does. He has a bad reputation at cons of not making eye contact, short answers.
yep.
And the thing about Tom is, I'm not defending him. Like, there's stories of people saying like, Tom, I really love you as the creepy male guy in Creepshow 2. Like, was that tough? Like, to get in that makeup, or like, what was that like? Did you enjoy that? And he's just like, best fun I've ever had standing up, like that. While he signs the picture, like, and I hear that all the time. But for me, I went up to him. I have a great icebreaker. Whenever people do ask me, they don't ask me a lot, but whenever I do get asked about, like,
Mhm.
hey, I'm going to a convention,
Yeah.
I say, I tell them, I said, I have a great icebreaker, because sometimes you get nervous, you know what to say. I said, if you're going to get a picture signed from one of the pictures they have on the table, I always like to walk up, I say hi, I introduce myself, and I say, I'm kind of having a hard time picking. A lot of these are really cool, these pictures. Which ones are you kind of partial to?
Mhm.
Oh, I really love, because I remember when I was on this, when this picture was taken, I'll never
Opens them
forget, blah,
up.
blah, blah. And it literally has worked every single time for me. So
Damn.
that's my icebreaker. I tell people, use it. It always works, because it lets them talk about themselves, and
Yeah.
they don't really give a fuck to be like, oh, where are you from? How are you? You doing all right? What do you do for a living? They don't give a, yeah.
I've
And
had
I don't feel like, and quite
yeah.
frankly, I don't feel like telling you what I do for a living anyway. So it's like, let's just talk about you.
Yeah. I remember
Although, if I can, really quick,
yeah.
Eric Anderson, who was in Friday 4, who
Okay.
played the boyfriend, the one that was in the woods hunting bear,
Okay.
that one.
Yeah. Yep.
He passed away, unfortunately, too. Me and him talked for about 20 minutes on fracking in 2015. I have his autograph in the shed. I got to go pull it out. God bless him. Amazing human being. Nicest guy.
Yeah,
And
I
he
was
was dressed just like he was from the movie. He had on his flannel, tucked in his outdoor cargo pants. And we just talked. And he was like, what do you do for a living? At the time, I was working in the oil field. And we were talking
yeah.
about fracking. And at that time, I don't remember what was going on. I think there was a huge scare about who was president during 2015. It had to have been Obama,
Yeah, I
right?
think so.
So there was this whole thing people were scared about, like Obama was going to pull out of, you know, uh, that kind of energy, fossil fuels and stuff, which
Mhm.
obviously wasn't true. But there was this whole thing about it, and he was asking me what I did for a living, and I work in the oil field. Like I sometimes I'll do work after the fracking's done. Sometimes I'll
Yeah.
be there during it, and we just started talking about it. He was like, "So how does that work? Like, what do they do?" I said, "Well, they trench the ground really, really deep, suck a bunch of gas, oil, and whatever out of it, and then they fill it back up with sand." And then we just started talking about that for a little bit, and he was just the nicest dude. You would never think he was an actor. Like he was a real motherfucker. Like he was just a
Yeah.
guy. And I had such a great experience with him. God bless him. I'm so sad he's gone, because he wasn't a star, but I loved meeting those people.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite autographs I have are my Return of the Living Dead 2, where it's a bunch of people that did like 3 movies. Like I
Yeah.
got the kid from the movie, I met him. The older sister in the movie that's wearing the aerobics clothes. She was so pretty. The older sister in Return
Yeah.
of the Living Dead 2. God, she's beautiful. She was still beautiful when I met her.
That's incredible.
And I meet people like that. I love those people. So God, I'm going on
Oh, you're
a
good. I mean,
tangent,
I
but
remember so, like, the ones that I always will distinctly remember, Adrienne King was just the nicest. Like, she's just so sweet. Gave me a hug before I left. I was like, "Man, you were just like"
Adrienne King,
yeah,
I need to meet her desperately. I
she's
desperately need to meet
awesome.
her.
I will stand by that as probably one of the best convention experiences I've had.
Was she selling her wine?
Oh, shoot. I don't remember if she was. I know we were we were talking about everything. Like, I was surprised at the amount of time that she took to actually hang out with me and talk to me. Um, and then Tony Todd, that was at one of my first convention. I was so nervous, and he was just down to earth, and he like we were talking streetwear and stuff like that, because I recognized like the hoodie he had on, and it was just it's like one of those experiences you don't forget, obviously, because he passed away. So and you get everything ranging from that to Ken Faree, and Ken Faree didn't say 2 words to me. He gave me a handshake. I was
Oh
like,
God.
all right, well, that's that. You
What are you
know?
gonna do?
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Well, all right. Well, that's it for tonight's journey through the world of Freddy Krueger and the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, from the dark corridors of Springwood to the twisted dreamscapes that turn sleep into terror. We've relived the kills, the scares, and the legacy of one of horror's most iconic villains. Christian, where can everyone find you at? Do you have anything coming up? Anything you want to plug at all?
So tomorrow I will probably wake up and watch New Nightmare and then get my 5 and 6, my Freddy Said New Nightmare review out
Hell yeah.
on those. Next Saturday we will have a You Need a Candle sale. Please follow us on Instagram at You Need a Candles.
Yep.
We're gonna have really cool candles available, really cool ones. I guess I can give you guys a sneak peek.
Oh, what
Let
you
me see if
got?
I got one right
What
here.
you got in the works?
One of them we have are these really cool hexagon Halloween 3
Hold on.
candles.
Give me 1 sec. Let's get a spotlight on that.
Final
Ooh.
processing with an Australian day bill, and these are pumpkin waffles. They smell absolutely amazing.
Oh my gosh.
See if that'll focus. Yeah, but they smell amazing, and then they're in these gorgeous hexagon jars. Sydney was finally able to get some distribution for these kinds of jars. They're hard to get,
That's
but
incredible.
yeah, these are Halloween 3, and they smell. They come with lids. Oh, they smell so good, and these are really thick, heavy glass jars, and these are all natural candles, no chemicals, so you don't get that headache when you melt them. They smell very, very pure and clean, and they don't burn as fast because our wax is very dense. So they last twice as long. I mean, I always tell people, if you just give us a shot, you will see how much better it is than buying anything from a store that's made in a factory and processed. And
Oof.
it's night and day. So please follow us on You Need a Candles on Instagram. That way you're up to date on everything. We always say when we're going to launch stuff, and I usually try to promote it. Like if I'm able to have an upload correlate with a launch that's about to happen, I'll usually do like a little intro on my video, but sometimes I just can't. But yeah, follow us there. Obviously, PlanetCHH. Just look that up on whatever social. I have a Facebook page, Instagram, X, and YouTube. Obviously, follow me there.
Hell yeah. And then you guys can find me at After Hours Video. I'm all over on social media. Also, co-host of Beyond the Blood podcast. Be sure to go check that out. And if you're looking to build the ultimate horror movie marathon, go check out Valoria Video. From slashers to supernatural scares, they've got everything you need to dive into a night of terror. You can use my promo code After Hours, hours abbreviated 10, for 10% off your order, and stock up on the films that keep nightmares alive. I'll go ahead. I'll throw this up there. Cool. And then remember, Freddy never truly dies, and the nightmare doesn't end when the credits roll. Keep your doors locked, your lights on, and your eyes open, because somewhere in the shadows of your dreams, he's still waiting. Thanks for joining us tonight on After Dark. We relive the movies that started